Check one, check two, check two, check three, check four. Good morning, hello. Greetings, everyone. It's really, I mean, relatively speaking, it's early where I am right now. I'm going to be starting the call with these guys here in a few minutes. Hold on one second, let me turn on my little webcam. Going to be starting the call here in a few minutes with these guys. It's currently 7:30 where I am. And again, in case you haven't heard, seen, read, etc., we're doing the show super early. I mean, super early today because Awu, he lives on the other side of the, I mean, literally the other side of the planet. So, oh, excuse me. Yeah, but I'm gonna get the call going with these guys. Gonna check their cameras, gonna check their mics, gonna make sure we got everything lined up. And just dialed in, ready to go. Try to give you guys as good of an experience as possible, but also to give them as good of an experience as possible. Got a fresh, full cup of coffee here. Of course, Awu. Yeah, by the way, anytime I say we're doing this because Awu, please, let me make sure I'm being perfectly clear. It's nothing more than an explanation. It is not a complaint. I don't want you to take it the wrong way. I want to be I want to be direct and clear about that. Hey, Paul, what's up, buddy? I don't want you to think that this is me being passive aggressive. None of that. I do not want it to be taken the wrong way. Don't worry, buddy. I'm genuinely happy to be here, and I'm extremely grateful that anyone opts to come on this show, regardless of the time or their location or anything like that. So just to be clear. I do not want anything to be misinterpreted. I'd complain just a little. I mean, I actually am a bit of a morning person, but I'm also I'm an anytime person. I don't really struggle to wake up. I don't struggle to go to bed. I don't struggle to stay up late. For me, I look at sleep as a waste of time. So anytime that I can wake up early and accomplish something, anytime I can stay up late and accomplish something, I'm a happy camper. So it's all good, man. Hey, Zool, good morning. 7:30's late. Oh, Paul. Oh, Paul. Rose, are you out there? I saw that you were lurking about 30 minutes ago. Paging Rose Cutie, please respond. Good morning, Zool. Guarok. Jaffe 8886. Hello. All right. Yeah, I'm the same, dude. I'm the same way, Paul. 100%. My wife is the exact opposite. If my wife could sleep half the day away, she would. She does not operate well on little to no sleep. And not to say that I could function for weeks on end at 2, 3, 4 hours of sleep. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not a daggum, mutant or superhero, whatever you want to call me. But if I can skip some sleep, an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours of sleep, knowing that when I wake up, I'm able to do something and to feel accomplished, I'll do that. I'll do it every time. I don't like to sleep, and I do not like sleeping in. That said, asterisk, if I've been getting little to no sleep for days upon days upon days, sleeping in one day to catch up does feel good, but I still don't like sleeping in. Anyway, let me get the call going with these guys. It's 7:32. You guys won't be able to see them or hear them for you. I think I just drooled while I was yawning. You guys shouldn't be able to see or hear them initially. Let me just make sure that everyone is presentable and that I can answer any questions and so on and so forth for these gentlemen. I'll see you guys on this other side. Burb, be right back. I mean, it's soon. Everyone can hear you now. Turn these off. Don't tell anyone. Be our little secret. All right, so everyone can see you guys. Everyone can hear you guys. The stream is live. I've got notes pulled up. We have everyone in their chairs. If you guys need to use the restroom or grab a drink or anything, and by the way, that's true for during the show. If you guys need to step away, don't just be. It's fine. It's fine. You're not going to break anything or hurt anything if you got to take care of real life for a moment. But let's go around and do a little sound check real quick. Awu, can you speak into your microphone, please? Oh, well, nothing's coming through. Hold on one second. Oops, that's fine. Let's do this. Try one more time. Nope. And all right, now we should have it. Go ahead.
Testing. Third take is a charm,
There we go.
of course.
This is why we do it. This is why we do it before we hit record. It's all good, man.
That's
it's all
good.
good.
Do it.
All right, so is that about how long you're going to talk on average, or not on average, but is that about how loud you'll be?
I think around this loud. This is my normal speaking volume. I might have been a bit quiet.
Do you get louder the more animated? Because that's something I do. Is the more animated I get, the louder I get.
100%. You're in a small room, but nobody knows you're in a small room. You start projecting really loud, real fast.
Well, if you get loud, don't worry about it, man. Like I said, just be yourself. LB Ninja, go ahead. Little mic check.
I'm gonna be looking this way, so I'll test here if that helps the balance.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll turn you up just a little bit. Yeah. By the way, viewers, the reason why we're doing this now is if anyone needs to be turned up or turned down, you let us know. Go ahead and do it one more time, LBN.
All right, test. How do I sound? Better than I woo.
Does anyone call you LBN? That just seems so natural for me to call you LBN.
I literally get everything. My character in game is LBN.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. I'll try to address you in a variety of ways. That way, just I cover all my bases.
Curveball every time.
Mad Skills, your turn. Go ahead and talk.
Testing.
You're good. Now, real quick, I'll say this during the actual recording as well. Mad Skills is a little under the weather. This guy's here hanging out with us, even though he's sick. What a champ! What a dude! Is that the elevation you're gonna be at? You look like you sunk in a little bit.
Maybe a little bit higher, to be honest.
Okay, I'm just gonna adjust your camera a little bit that way. I capture you a bit more appropriately. I don't like cutting people's heads off.
I think you're the only real gamer among us right now. That's real gaming posture. We're all way too uptight, actually. Now that I think about it,
I've never sat like this. This is the first time.
Oh my goodness! Oops.
It's true.
Yeah, feel free to run some keys while we're talking. It's all good. Do what you guys got to do.
You've never seen anyone sit up nice and proper while they're playing games. You know, it's like immediate IO loss if you do that.
For sure.
All right, I think you're a bit more centered there. Lovely. All right, does Twitch chat, does everyone sound okay? You guys are good. I'll probably adjust you on the fly as needed. So like I said, just be yourselves, do your thing, man. But yeah, all right, cool. I think I just need to adjust one more thing. Did you guys do anything fun for Christmas? Assuming you celebrate Christmas?
I went to my parents, and there were 4 dogs in the house, and they barked constantly. So this is nice, peaceful, quiet. Very welcome.
Was the food good?
No, but my mom's not watching, so we're good. Yeah,
we're live right now, LB.
That's fine.
They'll never watch it. It's fine.
Do your parents watch the stream?
No, I'm kidding. The food was great. The food was great.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now I was working on Christmas.
You were working on Christmas?
Yeah, it's a surprisingly big holiday here, but I don't have family. It's just my girlfriend and my cats. We'll celebrate New Year's.
Sweet. All right, I think we got everything lined up. Yeah, we didn't do anything too wild or crazy. My sister flew in from Florida. She's actually leaving right now. I just gave her a hug before she heads to the airport. My kids adore her, but my kids adore pretty much everyone. In fact, there's a gentleman in Twitch chat named I'm Not Drewish. He's been a viewer, and in fact, he's been a mod for years and years and years. And a couple of years ago, we made a road trip from Florida up through multiple states, and it's for about 2 weeks. And we decided to stop and see Druish because we've just known each other for so long. Kids have never met him, have no idea who he is. Immediately, and this is back when they were like 3 and 6, they immediately ran up to him, hugged him, and sat on his lap the entire time we were having dinner. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Do your thing, man. And Druish is like, is this okay? I'm like, I guess it's fine. They love you, so whatever. So
It's weird how much
crazy.
you can feel like you get to know somebody
it is,
over
man.
stream.
In the best way, too. The absolute best way. I just need to grab
Can
one
be
thing
in the
and
worst
then
way.
we are good to go.
Of course,
That-
bro.
that's true.
I haven't. Have you ever, Mad LB, have you ever met anybody from stream in real life?
No, I was about to say there's one guy that we were at the same Christmas event this past Christmas, and we didn't find out until like the next stream that we were both there at the same time. But other than that, like that's the closest call, but not yet. No. How about you,
Matt,
Matt?
what about you?
Oh, I'm trying. Can't remember now. I went to 2 weddings of people that I met on stream.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
One was a couple of years ago. The other one was like last year, and it was just like I think the first couple of minutes of meeting someone that you never really met is a bit like, oh, you look like this, or like, oh, that's kind of, you just get used to
Yeah.
it, and then within 5 minutes, it's just like normal.
Like clicks, yeah.
It's like it just doesn't even matter. It's like the people you know on the stream or the people you meet on the stream. It's basically like they're more of a real relationship than you think than they are,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
they can be. Which is actually meeting them in real life kind of solidifies that, like because it
Yeah.
happened to me, and I was like, it's crazy. These people, like some of them, I consider to be like almost like family, and it's like you met them through stream. And it's like
Yeah.
if you tell that to some other people or tell that to outsiders, they'll be like, they watch
What?
you play games.
Yeah.
Side note, I know we're starting in a minute, but can I just
No, it's
say,
fine.
WoW
Of course.
romances, the people who meet each other and then end up getting married or in like a long-term relationship from WoW are the cutest, and I love those stories, and I always enjoy. There's a surprising number of them. If you didn't know this, I mean, I think everybody here knows, but there's like a lot of people who met their significant other from
Oh,
WoW,
yeah.
and I just think those stories they always
Yeah.
make me so happy.
I've been playing MMOs forever. I started back, I played EverQuest way back in 1999, and I remember I was 13 at the time, and I remember hearing about these weddings, like people literally getting married in game and in real life, and it was just, even back then it was cool, but it was, of course, it was a little bit more taboo, a little bit weirder. But fast forward 20 plus years, and it's like, yeah, it's just another way to connect with real people and to build real relationships.
Better
Crazy,
than Tinder.
man. I love it.
Oh yeah. WoW's the new Tinder for sure.
All right, you guys ready to rock and roll?
Let's do
Let's
it.
do it.
Sweet. Let me just make sure I've got the right thing pulled up. This is episode 9. Whoa, look at us go, man. Look at us go. Okay, real quick. I don't know if you guys have verified, but the names under your webcam should be your Twitch names. I just want to make sure. I've got a Wu Tank, LB Ninja 7, Mad Skills TV with an extra with 2 Z's.
yeah.
Okay, just making that's okay. I got 2 L's in my name, man. I get it. It's all good. No worries. Druish, that's the wrong YouTube. Yeah, you'll figure it out. It's all good. See it there. Yeah, EverQuest for the win, Zarkin. Woo! That's right, baby. All right, we're gonna get rolling here. Real quick before I hit record, did any of you guys
No.
play EverQuest back in the day? Were you alive back in the day? Woo!
I'm not that young. I'm older than it seems. I'm 28. I'm not that old, right?
Right,
but I do
right,
feel
right.
my knees when I stand up now, so I'm getting there.
I'm
like,
started with
No, I
WoW.
didn't play EverQuest.
You started
I
with
started
WoW?
with WoW
That's okay.
too.
Yeah,
Older
they're-
brother.
No worries, man. No hate. I love meeting people that played EQ. I could talk about EQ just as long as I talked about WoW, even though I only played EQ for like 5 years versus the 20 years I've been playing WoW. So
Wasn't the first one like Dark Age Camelot or something like that?
Dayak came out, I think it was in 2001, maybe it was 2000. I never played Dark Age, but I believe that was after EQ.
Oh, that was after it. Oh, I always thought that was the first one. Yeah, it was like, but it is like one of the first MMOs. right?
Oh yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah, there was what was Asheron's Call was another big one back then, and of course someone help me out here. What was the one before EQ? It wasn't 3D models. It was a kind of more isometric overhead, but I can't remember what it's called now. Not Unity.
I've seen the
Unity's the
footage of
engine.
it. It is
Yeah,
crazy.
Ultima
how
Online.
far
That's what it
gaming
is.
has come.
UO. Oh
Yep.
yeah, it's wild. All right. We should probably actually start talking about WoW. Here
Let's
we
do
go. Here
it.
we go.
The pre-podcast podcast.
That's right. All right. And yeah, okay. I was thinking everyone's phone. Oh wait, let me silence my phone. Okay, there we go. We're good. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 9 of Brutally Honest, a WoW podcast. I have with me today, as I say every week, but I do mean it every week, 3 amazing guests. But tonight is not about theory crafting from a distance. These guys have been living on the beta for weeks on end now. They've been running the keys, they've been healing, tanking, wiping, you name it, right? I want to talk about what Midnight actually feels like right now with these guys. So gentlemen, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here. Owu, we're going to start with you. For anyone who may not be familiar with you, can you tell everyone who you are, where you can be found, what you're doing, why you're here, anything you want to say? Take it away, man.
Yeah. I'm a new WoW content creator. I just started this year, and hopefully I can help people with their keys. I just love the game. I've been a WoW player forever. It's very weird to be in the spotlight now and actually be able to talk about the game on a public platform, because I've just been that guy that you meet in your keys, hopefully a good key. And I've just been playing the game for a long time. So hopefully I can help people with tanking, healing, and just feeling more comfortable with the game, because I love WoW. There's just some magic in this game. Doesn't exist anywhere else. So you can find me on Twitch, YouTube. Those are my main platforms.
You've only been not podcasting, listen to me, creating content for a year? This year?
Yeah, 2025 was the year.
Holy
basically
moly.
I started streaming
That's
and
amazing.
posting some videos to YouTube.
Yeah, my buddy Alikin, shout out to Alikin. He actually recommended you early on, weeks and weeks and weeks ago, to be on the podcast. And I'm like, oh, let me look at this guy. And I looked at your YouTube channel, looked at your Twitch, and I would have imagined you'd been making content for at least 2 or 3 years. That's fantastic. Well, thank you for being here, man.
Brand new journey. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to
very
talk
welcome.
about WoW.
Yes, LBN Mad Skills, they told me, watch out for this Awu guy. He likes to talk about WoW, so I'm just letting you guys know, if he starts monopolizing things, rip it back, all right? Don't let him just talk forever.
Take the mic.
Take charge. All right, LB Ninja, thank you for being here, man. Let everyone know who you are and what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I make healing videos. I think me and Mad both do, but I mostly play Mistweaver, and I did meet Awu in a good key, so I can give you that. But I think I'm the newest player of the bunch, because I started in Shadowlands. I have a bunch of old heads around me, so but I've been making content since about then, like a little toward the end of Shadowlands. But yeah, just like Awu, I love talking WoW, so I'm quiet now, but once I get going, I'm hard to stop. So get ready for it.
That's fantastic. So you started right around the time that I took a big break, because I stepped away during Shadowlands after the first tier. That's interesting. You started playing during Shadowlands, or you just started really like high end playing during Shadowlands?
No, I started during Shadowlands, and you know, a lot of people like you took a break during season 1 because it was season 1 of Shadowlands. But for me, it was great. Like, I loved how long it was because I was picking up the game, you know.
Yeah. That raises the question, of course, because you didn't really have anything to compare Shadowlands to, having not gone through Legion, BFA, let alone anything before those 2 expansions. That's interesting. I bet your perspective is so different, not in a bad way, but I bet it's so different compared to someone like mine.
Yeah, I've definitely had some like clashes of mindset with some people just because of how I approach things is a little bit differently, but maybe I'll have some hot takes today.
Hey man, the hotter the better. It's all good. Well, thank you for being here,
Okay.
sir. Appreciate you. I'm sorry, did you reference where you can be found?
Oh yeah. So Twitch, YouTube, both LB Ninja 7. That's about it. I'm there too much, so just look for me, you'll find me.
Does the 7 Yeah, for real. Does the 7 mean anything, or is it just randomly assigned?
None of my name means anything, but you guys are more than welcome to tell me what it means. It has no meaning. So go
fantastic.
for it. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here, man. And then we've got, of course, Mad Skills TV in the house with 2 Z's. I've got the 2 L's. This man's got the 2 Z's. It's a match made in heaven right here. Thank you for being here, my man. Tell people who you are, of course, where you can be found, what you're doing. Take it away.
You can find me on Twitch and YouTube with Matt Skills with the double Z's. Very easy to find. It's all part of the marketing scheme. I've been playing WoW for forever. I've been playing healer for probably majority of that, and I've just decided to make a YouTube channel and stream focusing on healing, focusing on high-end stuff, high-end Mythic Plus, high-end raiding, and then just the basics of, hey, a new player is trying to join the game. Which healer do you think they should play? Or which healer do you think they should find fun to play? Because I started off like really kind of high-endish, trying to focus on like the min-maxing stuff, but I think eventually over time I've kind of seen the part of where there's more casuals, or not more casual, so just more kind of approachable, which healer do you enjoy more type of content. And I think that's kind of important because I think the game is kind of going that way as well. We'll talk about this as well, right? With the simplification of healers and stuff like that. But it's all healer stuff. I'm actually starting to do add-on videos as well because there's a lot of changes happening with add-ons as well. I think Midnight is probably going to end up being as one of the biggest expansions ever, and whether that's going to be for the better or the worse, we'll have to see. But there's a lot of things to talk about, and you can, like I said, you can find me on YouTube and Twitch. Those are my main ones.
Man, fantastic. Well, again, thank all three of you guys for being here today. I really do appreciate it. Wu, I want to circle back to you. I love doing these little icebreakers at the top of the podcast here.
Oh, okay.
Is there one thing that you could do comfortably in the War Within that maybe feels noticeably harder or different, or even just gone entirely in Midnight that you've been experiencing on the beta?
So I've been playing beta now. It's 37 days of beta, and I've only logged into beta for 37 days every day. I do keep track. Yeah. And I gotta say, it's a great game. Like we'll get into it. I think the biggest thing is you can't track cooldowns. That is by and large the one thing that you just can't work around right now. Everything else, there's been some sort of solution. But as a tank, I have no idea when my team has cooldowns. And as a healer, I have no idea when my team has cooldowns. And as a DPS, I have no idea when my team has cooldowns. I think that is the weirdest thing. The lack of Omni cooldown. That is the biggest change, actually, going into Midnight.
I want to have you kind of stretch this out a little bit because I get so many comments on TikTok and YouTube saying, "Who cares? Doesn't matter. Play the game. Get good." Can you, in the best way that you know how to, explain why being able to see your team's defensive, offensive, utility cooldowns, whatever, can make a difference and might be important even to an average player?
Absolutely. First and foremost, because I think it's fun. Second of all, it doesn't actually matter. In the vast majority of content, you're just going to play the game how you're going to play the game. As a tank, you're going to route however you're going to route. It's not going to influence your decision making. And as a healer, you're just going to be pumping heals regardless of whether that person has their defensive available or not. It doesn't normally factor into decision making until a very particular key level. And it is completely overrated. Oftentimes I tune into people's streams and I'm like, wow, they're tracking 20 things. And I don't think they really use that information. So they would be better off not tracking those things. However, from a personal preference, I find it to be enjoyable because I like to min-max. For optimization reasons, as a tank player, whether or not I combine the next pull has a lot to do with whether or not I know it's going to die on time. And that is based on my DPS cooldowns. Keep in mind, you have to actually know what those DPS icons mean in order to track them. So you have to have played that DPS to understand what their cooldown is. And so from a tanking perspective, it's really about the pulls and the pacing of the dungeon. I set that pace based around cooldowns. This doesn't happen generally at 10s or 12s, but it does happen at a higher level where your entire route is planned around cooldowns. People do damage on 2 minutes. You do a big pull, and then a pacing pull, and then a big pull, and then a pacing pull. So it's just harder to understand exactly when to do that. I still think at the highest level, that'll happen exactly the same way because you'll just time it. You'll have the awareness of when that is, and most DPS have been simplified and pruned. I think I'm the only one here who has actually played tanks and DPS as well on beta, not just healers. Almost every DPS is like 45 seconds or a minute now. Very few are actually still kind of that based around the 2-minute cooldowns. So, but we'll get into that later. That's honestly the main reason. It's just pacing.
I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the moment to explain that. LB Ninja, does any of that line up with what you're experiencing? Do you have a different perspective? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so the lack of Omni CD. Omni CD is kind of the biggest step I took in the past, like, because like I said, I'm newer, but this past like year and a half, I've been using it, and it's like night and day from when I started as a healer. And going without it now, you kind of realize how much like healing is a math equation. You know, you start at 100% health, it's going to do like 200% health over X amount of seconds. You have to keep them above zero. And knowing which of your teammates has like their defensive ready or like how much the defensive is changes how much of a percent of their health that they're going to take. So it can help you know which person to put your external on, which person should you penance a person or should you penance the boss. Like it does help you kind of decide what to do in the moment. Like you said, Alu, you can have a lot that you can track, so you can simplify a ton by losing that, but you also are taking away kind of like a healer's agency to make a decision. But you know, having played beta a ton, you do kind of get used to it. But part of getting used to it is like if someone dies, you kind of just think, well, they probably didn't pop their defensive. You go back to that early healer way of thinking, you know, or oh, maybe a cast went off unless you're playing a shaman, you know, like different things like that. It kind of it makes you fall back on bad habits. Um, but another thing that I've noticed is kind of in the same vein as the buff tracking. So not like other buffs, you can't track like every buff of your own in that extra like buff tracking like space. So for some of the healers have more important buffs that you just can't add there, right? So I mean, it just gets annoying setting up a UI and you're reliant on knowing when you have this proc, and then you have to like find it in the top right of your screen, you know. But yeah, I mean that's a lesser problem than seeing your teammates' cooldowns for sure.
Yeah, I hate
It is the
looking for buffs in the
weirdest
upper
thing.
right.
Yeah,
Ugh.
If I can just say, it is the weirdest thing because I have noticed that if I'm
Yeah.
enjoying a healer on beta, I don't know why. If I just assumed, did they press a defensive? And my first thought, you're right, is I don't think they did. They might
Yeah.
have, but I don't know.
Yeah, you have to
That's
like dig in logs, and beta
that's
logs are not
frustrating.
fun to dig in. Yeah.
Matt Skills, what about you, man? How do you look at this question, this situation that we're talking about?
I can't interrupt on 90% of the healers. You know, I don't. I think I'll miss that if I'm being honest with you. I can see why they did that. I think Blizzard is trying to put focus on healers only healing type of thing. DPS has been really. It's been healer DPS has been bad for a while now. Anyway, so basically, my whole concept is that Blizzard wants healers to heal, and they made healing maybe feel a bit more punishing or whatever, but you can't interrupt, which, to be honest, half the time playing the beta keys, I don't mind not having an interrupt, but then there's one time that the cast goes off and someone is about to die, and I'm like, I could have interrupted that, I could have saved them, and it just feels really, really bad. But I don't think this is going to annoy as many people as you think, because I think there's a lot of a lot of healers who rather just not pay attention to the actual nameplates of the game, and they rather pay attention to the unit frames or the rate or the party frames, from the more casual perspective. But I missed the interrupts part. I like Avu said about the Omni CD. I think that's a big one as well. But all of these changes, I'm gonna do a hot take on this, a pretty hot take. All of these changes with the interrupt removal, with the Omni CD tracking, with I don't think this is gonna. I don't think this is gonna impact half the players in a bad way, because I don't. This only really impacts them when you start doing like you previously mentioned. You don't feel the cooldown tracking until you reach a point where someone died because it's a huge bleed and they didn't press a defensive, and you saw they had a defensive, and you're like, why didn't you press a defensive? But that only really happens at a relatively high key level, which only includes a small portion of the player base. If you look at the really large player base, most of the players don't really care about tracking anything. So this is kind of like saying to the higher end players who are pushing more and things like that, you're going to miss tools, And for all the other players, they didn't really care about those tools anyways. So this is why I feel like it's a little bit weird what they're trying to do with all of this. But I do miss the Omni CD with the cooldown tracking. What I really miss is the targeted spells, weak aura, which would put like like an trail telling you that something's about to be cast on. I genuinely believe that add-on should have been included as part of WoW baseline UI, because it just felt so integral to being a healer. Because especially when you had this meta of one missed interrupt, you're dead. Or like if you had this, and then if you saw someone's being targeted on, you could press a defensive on them. Or if you know they're going to get a bleed, you start healing them even before it, if you're like a druid or something. So I do miss those things. But the hot take is that majority of players are not going to care about this, because it only really applies to a higher key level. But that might be a bit too hot of a take. I don't know.
No, I don't think it's a hot take. I think that the average player couldn't care less, won't even notice, probably they don't even use things like Omni CD to track specific defensives, offensive cooldowns, etc. So we'll see how it all goes. Thank you guys for your perspective on stuff. Real quick, while I'm talking, after you guys talked, if you want to agree or disagree with someone, if you want to add context to something, if you want to say, hey, that's awesome, no, I don't buy into that, please feel free to interrupt me. Feel free to just go for it, man. I want this to be as conversational as possible, obviously, so don't ask permission, just do it. As for chat, if any of you guys out there, YouTube, Twitch, etc., if you guys have a question you want to ask any of these gentlemen, type in the command question, and then Nightbot and my mod, specifically Jerush, they'll capture that question, they'll put it in the Discord. We'll get to it if we have time. So yeah, man, thank you guys again for being here. We're gonna get this ball rolling with our first big topic, and we're gonna be starting with a woo. Who would have thunk, right? Compared to the War Within, how does combat pacing actually feel in Midnight? Are players going to be noticing a bit of a dramatic shift in how fights are unfolding, or is it basically more of the same, for better or for worse?
That's a big question. But also, I want to chime in that basically all of my answers are going to be very dependent and build upon what Mad Skills was saying earlier. Because first of all, I'm finding myself hard agreeing with everything that LB and Mad Skills have said thus far. But the main thing is that WoW has this weird thing where a lot of the people who make content for the game are very passionate, incredibly passionate, but they also only cover, it tends to be one perspective. The vast majority, Midnight is going to be just fine. Like I've been thoroughly enjoying beta. Keys feel like keys. Combat pacing feels like combat pacing. Are there some differences? Absolutely. And I can dive into them. But the truth is, these are min-max takes. They're optimization. And we can have that conversation and be like, well, at this level or at this point, we break into the finer details. But the truth is, Mythic Plus feels exactly like Mythic Plus. At its base level, if you like keys, you'll like keys going into Midnight. Actually speaking, although we're all up in arms about all of the potential changes, the game feels like the game. And you will just log in and have fun with your friends and game. And that's what most people will experience. That being said, I think that combat pacing, I think the main thing they've done is with dungeon design. There's no dungeon like Priory. And the biggest thing is the change with Bolt Slop. The casts in these dungeons, a lot of them are designed a little bit better. So if it goes through, it's not instant death, even at a higher key level on beta. And I do think this won't translate to like, oh, when you get to a certain key level, it'll just kill you. I actually think that it's specifically designed to be more approachable, where in a very high level group, maybe you're still coordinating those kicks, but a lot of them apply a stacking dot on somebody in Mysara Caverns, or a cast goes through and it's like, well, that hurts, but it's not unhealable damage. And in terms of combat pacing as a tank or as a healer or even as a DPS, I'm thinking, okay, it just feels a bit smoother. So there's not these very, very, very specific polls where I'm like nonstop, it's just Priory. Where it's the first poll, there are 3 things that are going to kill me. The second poll, there are 7 things that are going to kill me. And the poll after that, there are 13. And it just like gets incredibly hard. I've kind of noticed that on a lot of these dungeons, there's still a bunch of avoidable damage. They're still limiting your pacing. Ultimately, there's a lot of forced kind of polls in Magister's Terrace or whatever. You can only combine so much. There's still a lot of casts. There's still feels like Mythic Plus. But in general, I would say that the game is a little bit friendlier. It's a little bit more approachable, so pacing is better. But not by a crazy difference.
And I mean, I think you would agree that something like WoW being more approachable, more inviting. A good thing, right?
100%. I actually think the game is heading in a very positive direction. I know a ton of people have been dooming, and we're all rightfully scared that our spec is not going to be fun to play. But so far in my testing, everything's been great, and I've thoroughly enjoyed the beta.
It's so refreshing hearing someone else say that. I felt alone on an island, so, like just shouting into the winds, but it's good to hear.
LVN, I mean, what about when things go wrong in these Mythic Plus dungeons in the game? Like, do you feel like you're being punished faster or differently? Or like Awu was saying, is it more like, well, you know, Bolt Slop's being taken care of, so there's not that much that can go wrong as long as your group is on top of things?
I mean, it just like in the War Within, I feel like it's pretty pool or boss dependent. I mean, for most of the beta, some of the bosses just weren't doing much damage to begin with, but now that things are kind of settled and stuff, there are some mechanics that, if not handled correctly, like it's just a wipe. You're just done. But a lot of it is, if it's handled incorrectly, like technically you could heal through it and live and move on and get it next time. Like the final boss of Magister's Terrace, the amount of people that like miss a soak, you know, and then you can heal through it, but should you, like should you? So I don't know. In a way, it is kind of refreshing to like be able to let a cast go off and know it's not going to kill you, or just not see as many times two bolts going toward the same person, which is just like a War Within special. But well, I mean, maybe that's just because we can't see who they're going toward as easily. Like, but I will say, in a way, it's good that you don't get completely one shot for failing certain mechanics. But maybe this is a hot take as a healer. Sometimes you kind of wish it would one shot them. Like if they stand in a swirly, kill them. Like kill them dead. Let us waste a B res, okay? I don't want to have to waste all my cooldowns to save the party. If you miss a swirly, I have my cooldowns planned out for the next few mechanics. I don't want to have to dump them all on this one mechanic. So in a way, yeah, it's fine. But also, part of me kind of wants to be the bad guy and just like not press anything if a cooldown or if something gets missed. But I don't know. But I do agree. Generally, I think for the most part, like I've had more fun this beta than I think I've had on I think almost any beta so far. And that's even with, like you said, a lot of the specs themselves don't feel too great. I feel maybe it's just that this is a good dungeon pool, but um, I do think like a lot of the philosophy change is kind of playing into that a little bit as well.
Mad Skills, do you feel like incoming damage to your group during these encounters and dungeons, has it gotten any smoother, or there's still some really big sharp spikes with bolts and boss mechanics and stuff like that?
I guess in Mythic Plus dungeons, I do think it depends on the dungeon you're doing and things like that. I think there are a couple of bosses out there that will have you healing from the start of the fight to the end of the fight, with like second boss in Mysterious Caverns. There is burst AoE depending on how many ads you soak. So if everyone soaks 4, you get like a dot that just absolutely annihilates, and then the people might die, and the people will be like, "Hey healer, why don't you heal?" And you'll be like, "Don't soak all 4, soak 2." And then there's intermission phase where you also have to heal through it. It's kind of like a rot type of fight. So there are fights where you will be like pure healing checks, or like a lot of it is to do is like how good is your healer, how good can your healer bring up health bars and things like that. Um, you have to think about it as well. The item level on PTO is like 276, I think, which is second track of Mythic. So you're not wearing the highest item level gear yet. So there is still item level to be gained. You can only buy plus 15 keys right now. You can obviously do higher if you get them up, but keys feel pretty rough. I would say like healing a lot of these dungeons outside of your cooldowns, healing can actually feel pretty like if I'm playing anything but a Resto Druid in my honest opinion is an exception to this rule. I think the reason why Resto Druid is looking to be really strong is because they can heal so much outside of cooldowns, and all the other healers I feel like they rely or how do I say, if you're doing a boss which requires 24/7 healing and you run out, you use a cooldown and then you still have to heal people, you could definitely get into the positions where you're like the whole group is at 50% HP and you can't bring them up. You're just trying to keep them alive. Which is a little bit weird when you look at season 3 of The War Within, which is like, a lot of this ping pong type of healing where like someone's 50% HP, you're gonna get them up pretty quickly, which is also to do with the fact that scaling in Mythic Plus is also something that is very hard to achieve because the way the Blizzard does scaling is that after season 1, they probably will increase the stamina and the mob HP because the power gain of item level and things like that. Which again, there's no real solution to this, but I do think that healing. It feels less spiky, I think. There's still burst healing, but I don't think it's as spiky as it is in something like in The War Within, which is also makes sense because The War Within is like the highest item, or like, you have so many stats and so much of everything. But I kind of like it. But like the rest of Druid, if that's going to be the way that it is, I can just see like everyone playing rest of Druid for high end.
Can I add to that? Because that's something I was hoping we would get into, actually. Talking to 2 healers on this podcast. Something that I noticed. I'm a healer enjoyer. I'm a tank main. But I played all the healers on beta, and I played every hero talent of every healers. And some encounters just felt impossible, depending on what healer I was playing. And I realized that the biggest issue, like you're discussing, is coverage. It's not necessarily the power of individual healing. And Pit of Sauron was the best example of this ever, because you had the first boss, which is a pure rot encounter for anybody who remembers. It's like Kajin from Halls of Infusion. I think that's fun. I had a lot of fun healing. On certain healers, I had an easy time. On other healers, I had to game. I was like, wow, it's maximum HPS brutal. It's like 100%. You're doing as much healing as you possibly can. If you have to manage your mana, you do. The entire fight's constant taking damage. Very little spike, just constant healing. It was fun. The second boss, however, is no healing, and then every 60 seconds, everybody takes their whole health bar drops, and there are 2 curses to dispel, 3 kicks, in an 8-second window. You take 1 burst of AoE damage, and 8 seconds later, if everyone is not full health after all of this happening, while there's area denial, because there's puddles happening all the time, then everyone's dead. And it's just like, okay, so what this is demanding I have is a cooldown every 60 seconds. Like, as a healer, I need a way to push health bars up every single phase. And there were some healers who didn't have that. First one would be fine. Second one, if people didn't use defensives or a health potion, I'm not in Discord with these people. I can't tell them, hey, I need help on this one. I just couldn't do it. I was like, I got my full ramp planned, and it was just like things hit like a wet noodle outside of Wrestler Druid, or a few specific instances. And I feel like if they're going to take tools away from healers, they have to reasonably make encounters that don't require the same War Within philosophy of every 60 seconds, if you do not have a major cooldown, your team is going to suffer. And it's just like they have to change that if they're not going to actually give healers the tools to deal with it.
What do you guys think as the healers? Like, is that something you're experiencing on your end?
Yeah, I think for the longest time, the best healer's been the one with the most like powerful cooldowns or the most utility. But like Matt's saying, we are kind of moving to where the best healer, for the most part, you can kind of combine cooldowns enough to kind of figure your way through it or something, especially in like high-end groups where you can combine other people's utility and stuff. But now we're moving to who can do the most healing outside of their cooldowns, like Matt said, and there are some pools, like I was saying, where some cooldowns just don't do what they used to do. And those feel pretty pitiful in those moments. But I think what I've encountered the most is that, like out of those big moments, how do you still compete? Like how can you keep up in those like long fights that it's like constant? Like I know the final boss of Skyreach has been like a big. I think it's the final boss, but it's like it's constant like rot 3-man taking damage. Then like one person gets swept up. Then you also have to contribute damage somehow, and like you kind of it gets. They wanted it to be less spiky, less stressful for healers, but it kind of is still more stressful in a different way, where it's like it's constant. You just have no reprieve, and to an extent that is fun because you get to heal constantly, but when you do start to kind of drown because you're out of stuff because you have less stuff to do, it gets like it gets panic mode, and yeah, a lot of healers just don't have the tools for that for sure.
On the tank side of things, are tanks at the moment, just how things are currently designed and balanced and whatnot, are they expected to chain defensives more aggressively, or are you kind of just skipping and dancing your way through a dungeon at the moment?
So this is going to be a hot take for sure. Because I know, again, everybody's so up in arms about everything that's changing with Midnight. Tanking feels exactly the same. Unbelievably so. The very first week of beta, I just was playing every tank in all the dungeons. And I was like, wow, I feel a little weaker, for sure. I'm missing a button here or there. But it feels identical. Like, I honestly think that tank players have the exact same responsibility, the exact same role. And you don't necessarily chain defensives, kind of like healers, so they took a button or two away from every tank, except Guardian Druid, which weirdly got more complicated for no reason. Some people like that. But the idea is, rather than have this perfect defensive, you are needing to understand the pull. And the only complaint that I have for tanking is that because it didn't get any easier, whereas DPS got much easier, and healing didn't really get easier either. It just changed a little, maybe. I'm curious to hear LB and Mad Skill's thoughts on whether healing is actually easier, more friendly, or more approachable. It's more approachable, but I don't know if it's easier. And the problem is that tanking is very hard right now in beta. It is not easy to tank because so many of these packs have unnecessary magic damage inflicted on hit, which favors certain tanks over others. The tuning on tanks is all over the place. Some tanks are very powerful and some tanks are not. But my biggest gripe with it is that I don't feel powerful on the tanks that are not tuned very well. And that is not a good feeling as a tank. If you're already taking on the responsibility of tanking a dungeon, you should feel rewarded for doing so. You should not feel at the end of a dungeon, you're like, everybody else is like, yeah, we got IO, and you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, okay, it's over. Okay. And they go, oh, we have a 16 this next. And you're like, oh, no.
Yeah.
That should not be how tanking feels. You should feel like a Giga Chad, like you are the tank. And I think that I just hope they make tanking feel powerful because it does not feel good to be a weak tank, to be reliant on your healer. You do not have defensives to chain anymore. You will run out of things if the pack is designed for you to be taking this constant damage. There are some things you need to understand. You kite this one because it's a stacking bleed. There are other things that are still RNG about whether or not it applies to you. There are other packs that just clap you. And you will disappear into nothingness in 0.2 seconds on some of these packs. And that is a problem for tanks. For healers, it's a problem because you probably have played beta where you're like, wow, the tank was there one moment and then they weren't. I can't see their defensives. I don't know whether I should external them because most healers don't play tanks. So you wouldn't know that that tank is in trouble at that exact moment. And so it kind of creates, no one has fun in the game when tanks are not powerful. And that is a fear of mine going into beta because I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Nobody wants a tank on beta right now.
Oh, I've noticed 3 hour
Oh, yeah.
queues for a key. It's
Mhm.
and I have to.
Nobody
There's
wants
been
a tank.
times I wait until a woo gets on. I'll literally stay up at night knowing that a woo's going to get on at my 3 a.m. just so I can do a key that day. Like it's bad.
I don't want a tank right now. I've moved on to DPS testing and I'm like, wow,
We
this
need
is
you.
so great. Wow. Maybe I should main DPS next season. Like, tanking is stressful still. And I think that with all the changes, they should do something about that. Tanking should not be the role. It's already a stressful role. You have so much homework and everything you need to do as a tank. It's like, I'm a little worried about that because the game needs more tanks and more healers, not less.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of raises, if we can go off script here for a moment, to allow you to keep going for just a moment longer. Well, what can they do to incentivize people into playing tanks other than maybe making them Giga Chads like you said?
So outside of just making like people have come up with ideas like, oh, if you queue as a tank, you get the augment rune or something, gold incentive or item incentive. I think that that's not really going to work at the end of the day because it'll still feel stressful. And since I've been making content, which again, it's just this year, the amount of people I have had, just like at this point, hundreds of people who have been like, I really want to try tanking, but I'm scared. And I'm like, scared? It's a game. Shouldn't be scared to play a game. Why? Like, where is the system that is creating fear of enjoying? You pay to play. You are paying them to play. You should not be afraid to go into a key. And I feel like I've heard this a lot from tanks. I've heard it a lot from healers too. So I think that the best thing to understand is that tanks at the end of Dragonflight, we had VDH supremacy. If anybody remembers, one of the reasons that tanks got tuned down is because of how absolutely dramatically ahead VDH was. But only VDH. And this was a mistake, I think, on Blizzard's part, because they nerfed all tanks going into the War Within Season 1. And then we had Grim Batol, Stone. You remember Grim Batol? How terrible was that to Pug? Because your tank it was constant. Your tank was not strong. It was Season 1. We're going into another Season 1. And I'm worried there's going to be another Grim Batol, Stone Vault, City of Threads season where you're just like, well, guess the key's over. So I think the way that they address that is you simply make tanks powerful. You make them OP. You make them do competitive damage, not single target, but AoE. Prot Pally is a great example on beta right now. Prot Pally's fun to play because on AoE, you're a DPS. And on single target, you're still significantly behind, so you wouldn't play two of them. And I think that all you really have to do is make an arbitrary system that you cannot start a Mythic Plus key with two tanks. And then you make tanks powerful. Because that's the fear, right? If you make tanks way too powerful, you'll just play 2 or 3 or 4. You just make it so you can't start a key with two tanks in the party. It can't be that difficult. And you make all tanks feel as kind of a little bit more independent. All tanks have a simplified rotation right now. So that's not the rewarding part of playing tank. It's not like, oh, I use that proc perfectly. That's not. You just feel good because you are... Tanks, what they really want to do in a key is just do well. They don't want to be a burden to the team. The high-end optimization is that you want to do all this extra stuff. Forget about that. Tanks just want to not die. Make them very tanky. Like, if you screw up, sure, you don't have to make them so OP they can't die, but just tune them higher. Like if you buffed right now on retail every single tank by 20%, no one would complain. That would not it might invalidate the highest level key. So maybe the title people will complain because they'll be like, oh, we can do a key level higher. But I don't think anybody would be upset about that. Maybe DPS feel bad because now the tank does more damage. But that's like 20% across the board. I genuinely feel like that would help the game, not hurt the game. That's how you do it. You just make tanks good.
Mad Skills, in the same line of thinking here, what could they do from the developer side of things to incentivize people to play healer? Because, we're hearing from a woo damage and, don't put so much stress and pressure on people, etc. But how does that affect healers?
I think this is really interesting because when we was talking about the tanking, I know this is a healer question, how to make healers, but I 100% agree that the only way to make tanks more playable is to make them overpowered because, like, in the War Within Season 1, tanks were reliant on healers, tanks were weak, tanks were getting one-shot. No one wanted to play tanks. And if you look at the changes when they proposed to the tanks, let's make tanks not be unkillable. Let's make them feel like a healer defensive might save their life, like, it might be more important. It actually kind of makes sense on paper if you really think about this. It just doesn't work like that in the community. The community just doesn't see it like that because it's just too much stress on top of stress. What's happening a little bit in Midnight with the healers is that, again, this is still kind of early on because Blizzard does these sweeping tuning changes a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the expansion comes out. And they do this 50% or 20% stamina increases, enemy HP increases all the time, so they can still do a lot of these things. But healing feels a little bit, like I said, outside of cooldowns. If you're not a healer who can do good healing outside of cooldowns, it can feel rough. Most healers, I would like to say that they don't want to go back to the ping pong type of healing where if you don't keep everyone at full 100% HP, that they're going to die. I don't think people want to go back to that, but I might be wrong, but I feel like maybe people are getting a little bit tired of it. So Blizzard is kind of making it harder to play healers. should healers be overpowered, where they bring a person like Holy Paladin, Holy Shock? Holy Paladin, Holy Shock right now, you might need like 10 Holy Shocks to bring a person from the brink of death to full HP. A couple expansions ago, that same Holy Shock would do like 5 times the healing. Do we go back to that kind of gameplay where a single heal can bring a person to almost full? That means their healers are overpowered. That means you're playing that kind of like a fast gameplay, like a really fast, and like in raid, that's also in Mythic Plus. That in raid, it's going to translate into a point where you're going to be sniping all the time. For the people who don't know sniping, you're basically the healer that gets to heal the person first, gets all the healing, and then a person who presses the spell like a second later, they get nothing out of it. It's almost like a little sport that people can do. I honestly don't know what the answer is, because there's been so many different things that Blizzard has done over the past. When healers are too powerful, you get this whole sniping thing in raid. It's all about the people that press their cooldowns first. In Mythic Plus, it becomes more about if you can meet every single healing check, that's what damage comes in. We had that in Shadowlands, where the healing checks were not that big, or every healer was able to meet healing checks. Then the healer that provided the most damage was the one that was deemed as the best. I don't think that's going to happen now, because healer damage is not even as close to as it used to be. So if they made healers, in my personal opinion, they're trying to make healing more approachable right now, because they're not making you do interrupts. So you don't have to track, or at least for most of the healers. Again, I still don't understand why Shaman got an interrupt and every other healer didn't, because it just feels a little unfair. But for the rest of Shaman mains, that's pretty good, I guess. So they're trying to make healing. If you're a new player coming into World of Warcraft, hey, Blizzard is telling you, just focus on healing. Focus on getting this person topped up. Focus getting this person topped up. You don't have to focus on nameplates that much. Let the DPS get the interrupts. If they don't get an interrupt, they might die or whatever. Actually, the whole interrupt philosophy in Midnight it felt pretty nice. I know a lot of people were upset about the removal of interrupts, but there's no Priory. Priory will go down to, in my opinion, as probably the worst interrupt dungeon they've ever created. Insanely convoluted. So I'm actually quite happy with how the interrupts work in Midnight, and I don't mind the healers not having an interrupt. So I think what Blizzard is trying to do is exactly what you said, Brutal. They're trying to get healers to come in. Just heal the person. You don't have to pay attention to interrupts. You don't have to pay attention to. You don't have the information to tell you if they're using defensives or not. So just heal them, and that's it. And I had fun in Midnight, and I still think people are going to come back and play healer. I don't think making healers overpowered is good for the game. That might be a hot take, but I don't think it's good for the game. And I think Blizzard needs to find a better way of tuning Mythic Plus from one season to another season without making healing too overpowered.
I
You
don't know
heard it
how
here
they do
first,
that,
folks.
by the way. Just because I was just going to say,
No, please.
healing is the one role that is responsive. So tanking is independent. Like if I'm a good tank and I'm a better tank, I can improve my own gameplay on my own. As a DPS, you're independent. Like yes, I'm dependent on the pulls or whatever, but effectively I'm in charge of my own rotation. And the better I am, the better I do. Healing is the only role that is incredibly variable. Did the person stand in the puddle? Did the mechanic go off? Did the cast go off? How good is my team? How good is my tank? If my tank is bad, I'm stressed. If my tank is good, I don't have to worry about him. Great, I can put my life bloom on someone else, I can put my earth shield on someone else. That's a big help. And healing is the only role that is completely variable depending on how your team functions. That is difficult to tune. Because you're right, I think if you make them too OP, you run into the problems that you were discussing.
I was gonna say, you heard it here first, folks. Mad Skill says, just heal, bro. Just heal. That's all you need
Yeah, I
to
did
worry
hear
about.
that. I do also.
No, please.
I want to say I'm close to bingo. I have free space. Holy Shot gets mentioned, and hating on Priory in this midnight video. So I'm close.
That's
Priory is so
fantastic. Elvin Ninja, I want to swap to you here. We're going to talk about classes and specs for a few minutes here. And from the healer side of things, Of the healers you've tested, which of those specializations and classes have gained tools and which ones have lost agency? Something you're excited about, nervous about, anything like that?
Well, I don't know about gaining tools. I will say though, we've talked about Restordruid a lot. Look, I want to preface and say I think Restordruid has this problem where every beta, every pre-patch, Restordruid just looks good because of how it heals, and then we make it into live, and sometimes it falls flat. So I don't want to sit here and talk about Restordruid a lot because we do that all the time. But Resto Druid does feel really good because it can heal out of its cooldowns. It also I love its the change to Soul of the Forest where it when you Swiftmend into a regrowth, it feels like you see 3 health bars just bounce up. And for Resto Druid to be able to do that, to you see 3 health bars just go up more than a Holy Shock from a Holy Paladin, it's crazy. I do also want to say one thing that you feel really lacking in is they wanted spot heals to do less of a percent of health, which is, it's fine for the greater good, I guess. But when it comes to tank healing, I've noticed a lot of times it's hard for us to help you guys unless we see your death coming a few seconds ahead and then can pre-apply an external. But if you guys start to fall and you can't top yourself up, sometimes it's really hard to it's almost impossible for us to top you guys up quick enough, What do you say, Awu? Have you experienced that?
The knowledge gap from a healing perspective, you got to think about it like this. If I'm a Resto Druid, I'm good at these things and I'm bad at those things. So you can cover that because you've played Resto Druid before. So you know in which pulls you're going to struggle. It's the same thing. Now I'm on Shaman. Okay, so I'm going to be really strong here, but really poor here. So I need to make a plan. I'm going to sit up in my chair for that pull, and this next one I'm going to sleep because I have my cooldown, or whatever it is. The problem is that most healers don't play tanks. So there are some tanks that have the same exact situation. I'm very strong here, but I'm very weak there. So as a healer, there are times when you should dump globals into tank, but they're far and few between. You just need to know when they are. And a very clear example would be Prot Warrior. This pull is physical damage. I don't need help. If as on a physical pull, if they're just meleeing me and I die as a Prot Warrior, that's on me. It's not on you. There's nothing you could do, genuinely. I just turn my back, boom, I do a weird movement. Oh, I've misplanned something, that's on the tank. But now this pull is a bleed or they do magic damage. And you would not know this as a healer, but a lot of these mobs, again, you just hover over their frame and they're like, additional magic damage done. Doesn't hurt anybody with the tank. And so you're like, well, I'm going to watch my tank now. This is where I cocoon. And you're like, well, this pull is very scary. I'm going to cocoon right away. Not what you should do, because actually the tank's going to be the strongest on pull because that's when they're going to commit their big cooldowns. You don't even have to track this. It's just I've played tank, so I know scary pull, I'm good for 16 seconds. The pull lasts longer than 16 seconds on this tank, external me. And so it's just really difficult. How you're not expected to do that homework. That you wouldn't know that that's when I need help. And so I wish there was a way to communicate that better. I've actually encouraged tanks, if you're playing in a pug, highly recommend just get a macro that spams, and it's really annoying, but don't use it that often. Spam in party chat, just go /party, external me now, please.
Mm-hmm.
Just click it. Yeah. And your healers will actually thank you for doing that because they'll be like, oh, I didn't know. Now I know. Or just, I have another one that just says heal me for 5 seconds because either I've misplayed or there's that 5-second gap between my defensives. It just goes heal me for 5 seconds. And as a healer, if I see that, I'm like, oh, got you. I just didn't know. It's just that the disparity between the roles. You just, the tank doesn't really understand why the healer doesn't know that. And the healer doesn't understand why the tank just died. So I wish there was that communication.
Well, I completely dodged the question. I'll get back to it, but I was going to say, building off of that, could we, since we don't have Omni CDs, since we can't see everyone's stuff that's available, could we see macros becoming more of a play? Could a healer press defensive ? And then everyone press macro yes, no, yes, this guy has defensive. Could that become a thing?
You could just type defensive, anyways.
Well, that kind of. I hate being the one that answers questions because I want the spotlight to be on you guys, but your question just spawned an idea. I wonder if someone could or will build an add-on around that where it's just on your screen, click it, defensive, and then pops up for the pops up for the DPS. Yes, no. I mean, I'm not saying it should. I'm just saying that's what sprung to my mind. So who knows what we're going to see ultimately in Midnight with add-on development and stuff like that, because we're being restricted in certain ways and blah blah blah. But anyway, I had to interject. I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good. But so
Nobody do
back
that,
to
please.
yeah, don't do that, and don't call it strong auras, and don't give me some of the credit. But so as in terms of losing agency, I feel like that is a problem when you take people when you make it to where healers can't top up people quickly. A great example's like Holy Shock and Word of Glory of Holy Paladin, because that is what they were supposed to, or what they have done since I've started playing. You shock someone, it shocks their health bar up, and you see it bounce pretty dramatically. But now they don't really want us to be able to do that because they don't want that ping pong healing. So a lot of our every healer for the most part is like these passives, like a billion little passives that splash healing here. You create a cosmic ripple here. You get like free totems that do some splash healing. Like there's a lot of passive splash healing that happens. So when that's the case, you do kind of lose some agency. It's kind of like you summon this pet that's helping you, and you are trying to supplement it, keeping the person that your pet's not healing alive. But I feel like a lot of healers kind of have all these random little passives. Like even Mistweaver Monk, like our healing, a lot of it's passive right now. Like, and your spot heals aren't always as reliable as they used to be, especially if you talent in certain ways. But like spot heals just aren't spot healing as much, which isn't a problem. But when all of your healing, when you spot heal someone and it splashes on everyone else, it does kind of take your agency of who you cast. Maybe that's adding agency. I don't know. Maybe I've convinced myself, because then it matters who you're hitting more. I don't know, but it definitely is different for sure. But I don't know if anyone's gained too much in that department, if I think about it now. What do you think, Mad?
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the whole incidental healing, uncontrolled healing. There's a bunch of that thing. It's been nerfed a little bit, I guess. Like, I mean, before that, it felt like you could just hit any person and you'll do like 20 different procs. And it felt like it doesn't even matter who you heal because you just have like 20 different procs happening because your talents are all like connected, and you're doing more from the proc than the actual heal itself. Like Lightsmith Holy Paladin with the whole judgment, it has like an interconnected. There's like 3 graphs out there. When you press the judgment, you can proc like 20 different things and talents. It has been nerfed a little. I think Blizzard is trying to move away from that. I think they want you to give the agency. I think they will end up doing that in the end. Hopefully, I think there still needs to be a little bit more of buffs to like if you're healing a person A, person A should be healed, and that should be your main focus, right? You shouldn't be doing it just because you want to proc 20 different things or uncontrollable things. I mean, the
I
agency
totally
thing.
understand that take, but they have to be careful with that, because otherwise you end up with something like Resto Shaman, where right now you're right, their totem does everything, but your healing wave is nothing.
Mhm.
Like you don't have, like you can healing wave somebody 7 times and they're still not full health. As totemic, you have to be comboing all these things, and I think that it can feel really bad because healer design is not homogenized. You have a Mistweaver which does things in a certain way, and so when they do this combo, that is unique to them. And they're already simplifying things a little bit to the point where I don't want to feel like a Resto Shaman when I play Mistweaver. Like I don't want to feel, I like the fact that my judgment feels different than my Rising Sun kick. So if they go too far in that direction, then all of a sudden you have some healers which have amazing cleave potential and other healers which are fully triage dependent, which means that on the encounter where there's 3 targets taking damage, some healers are going to be much, much, much better if they don't have any incidental healing. And that's a problem with, you can't fix that because otherwise there's no difference between the healers. And that might be a raid problem because you want that to feel different in raid. But then in keys, you're the only healer. No one else is covering your slack. And you have encounters like the second boss of Magister's Terrace, but then you also have encounters like this, and you're like, well, now I have to have the tools or a plan or the ability at the very least to deal with those things.
I think that's why we talk about like I feel like that's why we always mention Holy Paladin as a good example because they kind of are losing their identity to an extent of that shock based healer as much as they have been in the past. And specs other specs have spot heals that feel that they can be stronger, like a regrowth or something can hit harder in some cases. So I don't know. It does feel like a lot of it's kind of blend. Whenever I bounce between healers, they don't all feel as different as they have in the past. But I don't know if that's just I don't know if that's as much of a problem as much as I'm making it out to be. But I definitely
No,
think
I think
Holy
you're
Holy
absolutely
Paladin.
right. You're completely right. I just don't know how they address it. That's a
Yeah,
hard one. It's hard to address it. It's like healers are actually more different than tanks. Like you have stagger for brewmaster, you got death. Like you have different individual tank mechanics, but tanks are very much, with respect, and don't yell at me too much. Tanks are very much you press one, you press two, you press three,
I
and
can't
you
believe you
kind
said
of
that.
it's ultimately true. Like there's the essence of tanking, which is all about not your rotation. Like a good tank has very little to do with their rotation. That is just extra stuff on this icing on the cake. A good tank knows how to pixel stack mobs, combine pulls efficiently, telegraph their movement. There's all these other skills of tanks. But healing, man, my foray into healing, and when I go to enjoy, my favorite healer is a Pres Evoker, so I'm already in trouble. But basically, it's so different that if I don't have an understanding of it, I simply can't do it. It's a little bit different. Like tanks, I can take the knowledge from one tank and apply it to a different tank. There's like you can play one tank, you can kind of play all of them, except Brewmaster maybe. But you can't really do that with healers. You can play Holy Paladin. That has zero qualification to play Wrestler Druid, like very close to zero. Like they're so different. And I love that, and I think people love that. But it's a balancing nightmare. I don't envy them because I
Yeah.
don't want them to take that away. But yeah, Holy Shock, when I was playing Holy Paladin, it's not my main. It feels terrible. It doesn't feel good. I don't know what they do for that.
I love the fact that you guys are talking about this stuff. I really appreciate you guys just spinning, man. I love that. Real quick before we move on to the next big topic is, are there any talent changes that happen to look totally fine, if not good on paper, that just aren't firing on beta right now? Healers, tanks,
For
whatever you've
tanks,
had experience with.
for everything. Well, one interesting note is that I've been testing DPS. So I finished all the tanks, all the healers. I played them in every dungeon effectively, and I just spent again like 30 days straight of tanking and healing. And I was like, all right, I need a break. I'm growing some gray hairs now. So I've been playing
Hey,
DPS. I've tested all.
watch it.
I'm still young enough. I have to worry about that. But I've been testing. So I've tested all mage DPS. I've tested unholy, warlock, dev evoker, like a lot of quite a bit now. Every single one of the DPS just doesn't feel that complicated anymore. So they removed the talent tree is still there, but I would go into a DPS that I've never played ever. I would copy paste the build because I have no idea. I have zero clue. There's 30 talents in this tree, and I have absolutely zero comprehension on it. The example being today, I played Arcane Mage for the first time ever. Second key, I was doing competitive damage. Now there is, I believe, one or two procs I'm supposed to track, but effectively the talent changes means for DPS, there's nothing to track, which is in a weird way maybe good because it's very approachable. I think that this will be the best time ever for somebody to learn a new spec. You can go in, it still felt unique enough, but it was really weird. It was super weird because I was like, I think I again pressed the 1, the 2, and I have 1 or 2 cooldowns. I press them in that order, and I definitely am not playing perfectly. But I was able to grasp the basics because the talent changes. There used to be 7 procs. There was a conditional for Arcane Mage that I know about that was a weak aura designed to factor in 13 different scenarios of whether you barrage. And I'm pretty sure there's like 2 now, which is so much more approachable. So from a DPS perspective, I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't think it'll be boring because complexity doesn't equal fun. So I don't think it'll be boring. I still think you'll enjoy it, and I still think that most specs will feel good. I'm curious, though, to keep testing all the DPS because I wonder if some will feel maybe not so good. From a tank perspective, ultimately I'm pretty healthy on the talent changes with everything except maybe Guardian Druid. I think they've simplified it. You have a far less to worry about, maybe even too little potentially, but ultimately super straightforward, so much more approachable, and that is the best and most important thing. Because WoW, oh man, we're all old now. We need new players, man. We need new players. And the talent tree is overwhelming. I mean, you imagine being a new player to WoW and opening up that tree. You don't know. You can't. And you put the starter build, which is, I don't know if I've ever done a key on a starter build before. It's normally not that good. It's so overwhelming. So I'm glad everything feels way more simple. Be curious to know your in-depth thoughts about the healers, but even then, to me, it was like there's a few interactions. It's like 2 or 3, and when I get really, really good, there's 4, but there's not 13, and that is significantly better. Except maybe I can go on a rant about Guardian Druid another day, but that might be the only thing I'm upset about. That's it.
Mad Skills, what about you from the healer side of things? Would you agree with anything that anything at all that he just said?
Yeah, like I mean, I think a lot of people were dooming about the healer changes because there was a lot of simplification. I think the healers that were simple before, they're simple in Midnight, like Resto Shaman, Holy Priest. I mean, there's some questionable changes depending on who you ask. If you look at things like Cloudburst Totem being removed, some people would have liked that to be as an option. But I can tell you right now, there's probably more people that hate Cloudburst Totem than like it, at least based on the comments that I've been reading. So I think that's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the changes that I didn't really like. Like I like Cloudburst Totem, so I'm sad about that being happening to Resto Shaman. But like if I were to summarize all of the healer changes, it basically comes down to, hey, we're taking talent A and talent B and we're synchronizing them and putting it into one talent. So you have one less of an aura to track, and then they're removing certain talents. That's basically what happened to all of the healers. So now you have like 3 or 4 auras less to track because obviously they want you to use the cooldown manager, and if you have 20 auras to track, then it might have been like a little bit overwhelming, and you have less spells or cool. Well, you also have less cooldowns because a lot of the healers have to choose between one or another cooldown. At the end of the day, I don't think there is anything that's like makes you quit the game. I know there's people who were dooming very much because they didn't want the simplification. I do think healers, if you're playing Resto Shaman, you don't have Cloudburst Totem. If you're playing Holy Priest, you can have talent that removes one of your Holy Word spells. You don't have heal. You're basically just flash. You're basically pressing essentially like 2 or 3 buttons, right? I'm being a little bit dramatic here, but they were already pretty easy healers anyways, and they were to some extent viewed as an entry-level healers. I'm not saying they cannot be like one of those healers where you play to the very high end, absolutely. But I do think Blizzard wants to have an entry-level healer or entry-level of anything. Because I can bet you right now, it doesn't matter if it's World of Warcraft, one of the first things a new player types in, give me a tier list for the best class, and then give me a tier list for the easiest class. And they choose that based on that. So I do think that Blizzard knows about that kind of thing, and Holy Priest, Resto Shaman might be one of those. I enjoyed healing, and this is coming from someone who plays the game all the time. I enjoyed the simplification for majority of healers. I know there's going to be some players who really won't like some of the changes, but I don't think it's as bad as people say. I'm looking forward to see how the tuning is going to be. I guess it really depends who your main is. I know there's people who've been playing the same main for like 20 years, and any significant change, like this is significant change. These are significant. Like healers haven't received these kind of big changes in a long time. But at the end of the day, some healers didn't really get that much of the changes. Like Resto Druid changes is it's more of quality of life type of thing. Things like, you know, your Grove Guardians proccing from Swiftment Wild Growth and things like that, and live blooms sprouting underneath your fluorescence target. No one's really going to go like, I'm not going to play Resto Druid. This is over. I can't believe they made these changes. Like half of the healer changes are actually a lot of the healer changes are good, because look at the amount of auras you need to track in retail. The amount of buffs you need to track, half of those buffs are basically irrelevant and you don't even have to pay attention. They're just there for the sake of being there. So removing half the auras was actually really good. And half the buttons, a lot of the buttons were kind of a fluff. I can even say this to Resto Shaman in terms of Healing Wave, Healing Surge. They both essentially did the same kind of thing because of how they worked with tidal waves and things like that. But you just used one in one content and used another in another content. So Blizzard said, hey, we're just going to give you one, and you just can use that. It's not really going to make or break the spec, right? But to answer your question, the changes that I didn't like, I guess Cloudburst Totem, because I was a fan of that. I think Resto Shaman could use additional complexity, and I think Cloudburst Totem would have been nice for that. But I also know that I'm probably in the minority for that.
That's okay. I won't hold
I'm
it
right
against
there
you.
with you.
Don't worry. Yeah, LB, do you want to chime in before we move on to the next topic?
Oh no, I'm Team Cloudburst as well, 100%. I mean, I'm still having fun on Resto Shaman though, and I think that's kind of the thing. But I do think that like variety is fine. Like when you put two choice nodes next to each other, that I don't see the harm there. But I get like trying to trim down the amount of cooldowns you can have at once, you know. But I didn't think anyone thought Cloudburst was an offender in what they were trying to do.
Just make Healing Wave 1.1 seconds instead of 1.8, and you're solid. That's the only problem with them choosing Healing Wave over Healing Surge is that
Yeah.
spec feels slow to trio
Yeah, it
shield.
does.
Just reduce the cast time of it a little bit, and actually I think that spec is golden.
But I don't have much experience on Resto Shaman, but I would agree that it does feel a little slow compared to, like, I play Disc Priest and Resto Druid most of the time, but nevertheless, before we talk about launch expectations, Woo, you had mentioned something on the back end in our Discord DM. I want to touch on that real quick.
Are you
And I
about
think a
to
lot
leak
of
our
people.
DMs? Are you sure about this?
No, there's no
Dude,
leaking.
Are you
It's
sure?
okay.
You got to really think
Everything's
about this. We're
seal
live
up
on
tight.
air.
It's okay. It's okay. But I do think a lot of people will connect with what you talked about, because somewhere along the way, for a lot of people, Mythic Plus stopped feeling like a fun component to the game, and it started feeling more like a job, you know, something that you had to do, something you had to really work at and whatnot. And even though you brought it up, Abu, I'm actually going to send the first question to LB here. Have you noticed that, LB, with players optimizing themselves out of the fun, out of enjoying the game?
Yes. Short answer, yes. I think this is one of those games, like, you know, we have a giant branching talent tree, and so does a game like Path of Exile. Like, there's a lot that's unexplored there, but here we can explore it all. So you can find what's optimal, and that's great. But I feel like there is a lot more to this game. Like, there's more to your spec than the one talent strand that's the most optimal. And there can be fun had there, and that there's nothing wrong with playing a video game for fun. And I feel like a lot of people forget that. But on the same end, like, if you know, it is important that that someone optimizes and finds the optimal. Um, but I also think that a lot of people can talk themselves out of a spec just because they've ruined the fun for themselves. Um, But like I don't know. I don't think anyone's wrong. I don't think you're wrong for trying to optimize. But if it's ruining your enjoyment of the game, there's other specs. You know, you can still play WoW and optimize and have fun. But that definitely is a thing, an occurrence.
Mad Skills, do you think that Midnight is doing anything at all to ease that pressure? I mean, we've kind of already touched on that a little bit. Is it intentionally or unintentionally reinforcing anything when it comes to enjoying the game instead of min-maxing everything and logging everything and tracking everything?
So I think this is gonna be another hot take here. I actually think it's going to be equal or worse than Midnight, than the War Within or the previous expansions, because I've already started seeing, this is gonna come into add-ons. I've already started seeing the point where add-ons provide more than the default UI, which is basically the whole concept of add-ons being, again, most people think add-ons are being removed in the next expansion because that's how a lot of the news articles were written. But I've already seen add-ons doing more things, which means that I still think there's going to be add-ons that people will want or need. I can almost guarantee you the Race to World First is going to be the spiciest thing you ever seen, because I've heard people using okay, the top end guilds are not gonna reveal their sources, but I've already heard about things like equivalent to weak auras, bypassing a lot of different things, using map pings to do what weak auras used to do, and things like that. Loads of this stuff happening. So I actually think the whole add-on removal and or like limitations is actually going to completely backfire on Blizzard here. I think people are going to still find these add-ons. They are going to replicate most of the things. Maybe not at the start of Midnight or the season 1 of Midnight, but I think eventually you'll see something exactly like that. I think there's still going to be the min-maxing. You still have multiple third-party add-ons that make the game, min-max your character. Now, the min-maxing, you don't have to do it. Like, that's the best part about it. You don't have to min-max if you don't want to. I don't think anyone should min-max if that's not their goal. I think if someone's playing with a group of friends and whatever, you enjoy the game. You're paying money to play the game. Why should you like be using all these different add-ons, different things, and different tools? Like there's a bunch of like logs and things like that if you don't want to, right? Now the opposite of this is that I can guarantee you there is maybe a small percentage of the population who love min-maxing, who basically play the game because they want to be like, hey, I'm gonna get the best gear, I'm gonna play my character to the best, I'm gonna check out the logs, I'm gonna beat this guy, I'm gonna do all this. That's literally why they play the game. A lot of the times they might be called like parsers in raids because they want to parse as much as possible. And that's literally their goal. Like if there was no damage meters, they would not play the game, right? So it's always a different type of person who plays this. Some people play to collect pets. Some people play to do the housing now, which is really, really, really big now. But I do think there's going to be a lot of min-maxing in Midnight. I do think that based on my raid testing, Blizzard is really putting a lot of effort in these soaking mechanics. Like I was trying to see how Blizzard is going to make fights less intrusive because they're removing add-ons, and half the bosses I was testing, it was all just soak mechanics, which is kind of interesting because from Tuma Sageras, they kind of said never again. But I guess now with the add-on limitations and stuff like that, but I can't wait to watch Race to World First because I think it's going to be really spicy with the add-ons. Because the add-on change is one of the biggest changes that Blizzard has done ever. Like, literally ever. This game has been here, what, 20 years or something? Blizzard started off in the beta with like extreme limitations where add-ons couldn't do anything. And every single week they gave it a bit more, a bit more, and a bit more. And I almost feel 1 or 2 more changes and we're back to where it's supposed to be. And then everyone's going to be like, why did they even do that? But that's like, we'll see. We'll see.
I'm already there, by the way. I was so excited about the add-on changes. I was like, finally, the first thing I do when I actually start my computer is actually go to Battle.net and hit play instead of CurseForge and hit update. But no, actually, if you are playing at the competitive level in any way, shape, or form, the first thing you'll do when you start your computer is go to CurseForge and you'll download all your updates. And there might be even more add-ons that you need instead of less. I was really disappointed. I'm hugely positive in Midnight, don't get me wrong, but the add-on, not the UI is fine, but the add-on changes, I think they just missed. Like whatever the intended goal was is not happening right now. And I would not be surprised if 2 months from now, they either just walk it back and all this fuss was for nothing, or I hope they're not stubborn at the very least and stick to their guns because it's not working the way they want it to.
Developers stubborn? Why? I never, sir. I've never. How would you even insinuate? What? I can't believe you. Woof, you can absolutely continue that train of thought if you want, but I do want to ask a direct question and then just go for it, man. If Blizzard wants to reinforce all of the stuff you're talking about, add-on changes or combat add-on changes, you know, the pruning and stuff like that, And then to kind of tie it back into something we talked about earlier, if they want people to jump into these roles that are underrepresented, tanking, healing, how do they continue doing that? How do they stay the course? And from a social side of things, with people being resistant toward it, or whatever, however you want to paint it, how do they accomplish that? This is a big question, so break it down however you want.
I think I have an answer for you, but I'm going to have to take you back a second. Just a casual few 21 years. When WoW first came out, it was a game where everybody was on the same page. Nearly everybody you met in Azeroth was there for kind of the same reason. And one of the fundamental biggest differences between the magic of WoW when it first came out versus today is that you started as a level 1 in Elwyn Forest if you were correct, or any of the Horde zones if you were wrong.
Right. Cut him out.
And,
no, hold on. Hold on.
But basically,
How do I mute
regardless of where you started as a level 1 and they didn't tell you what to do. You could do anything. It was a world of Warcraft. You didn't have an objective. Somewhere down the road, along the road, they started giving you more and more things to do. They started telling you how to spend your time in game, therefore giving you an objective. I'm not saying this was bad because I enjoy the objectives of WoW. But I am saying that what happened over time with the evolution of gaming is that when they give you an objective, they also give you a timeline of when you can achieve it. And people started thinking, how can I optimize to get there faster? Instead of how can I enjoy the journey of getting there? Because WoW is no longer about the journey, it's about the end result. This is what I think creates a ton of toxicity in the player base. You're not there to enjoy the key, you're there to time the key. You're not there to enjoy the raid, you're there to finish the raid and complete it and get there faster. You're not there to experience the game, you're there to win. And anytime you approach life with that mentality of, look, I'm here to win. This argument we're having right now, I don't really care what you have to say. I'm here to win. That's the wrong mentality. And I think that is somehow their game design philosophy has to address that. Because if they don't address that fundamental change, I don't know if it's possible. Maybe gamers have just changed. Maybe social media has rotted all of our brains, regardless of how old you are. And we do need to be told what to do. And we need the instant gratification. And we need that spike of dopamine. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that optimization exists at levels that it shouldn't exist at. You do not need a single add-on or cooldown manager or to even track anything for the vast majority of keys. In fact, I have been doing every single one of my beta testing, and I've been able to do some pretty high keys on beta, going up to 17s and such, with zero cooldown manager, tracking nothing. You don't need it, but you cannot convince people of that because WoW is a social game. And what happens is, of course, the meta doesn't matter at a 10. It doesn't matter at a 12. But good luck playing an off-meta spec. You're going to be sitting in the city for 15 minutes trying to find a group. So I think that, I know it's a bit of a spin on the answer to your question, but I really think that fundamentally, you can't solve the problem with add-ons and optimization because everybody feels the need to do so because that's what they've been almost told that they need to do. And that perception, somehow they have to address that. I don't have a full solution, but Blizzard is a massive multi-billion-dollar company. And they have people working on this this is their job to think about game design. I'm hoping they'll come up with something. The simplification, the pruning, the approachability of specs maybe is a good place to start. That's why I'm positive for Midnight, because I actually think the new player experience might be better than ever, but you're going to encounter just as many, if not more, people in your key when you do make a mistake as a healer who just type healer ? And then yell at you. And it's like, that's not a fun experience. It's hard to learn how to approach a new spec in WoW because the optimization has taken not just the fun out of it, but also that social connection.
LB, what do you think about that? Oh, absolutely, man. I want to hear LB's thoughts on that. Because quick, just to explain why, this isn't just me saying, okay, next person answer. Like, you have such a much shorter timeline and perspective on this, having started in Shadowlands. I can't remember if we talked about that before the recording or after recording. I apologize. I think it was right at the top of the show.
Yeah.
What do you think about what he's saying, being someone that's still relatively new to the game?
So I've kind of had to like burst up to the level that I'm at, like in terms of especially rating, because I want to rate at the top end. So I spent a little bit of time in like a casual guild. We would strive for AOTC, and then like I went to a guild that was like 3 out of 8 mythic. I've taken the stepping stones, and having been in the guild that I'm in, like I am in the best guild possible. Like we're cutting edge, but we get it like toward the end of the season. We kind of pace ourselves. We just have fun all raid night, and even still, I think the most fun I had during a raid this past year was I was doing a raid on my like one of my random alts, and I joined this group that put in the description like probably not going to kill any bosses, like join Discord. And I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. And it was the most wild and chaotic time ever, but it was so much fun. Like I swear we spent like 3 hours on a boss that I've killed hundreds of times, but I was still having the most fun because I think what made it important was that the group made it very clear what they wanted to do because we have so many players that like no two players have the same objective unless your objective is to be the best. But no two players have the same exact goals. But what we can do is we can make our goals clearer. And one thing that I've liked on the Midnight Beta is it's very simple, but it's that little drop down when you queue up to a key, you put like relaxed competitive or learning. And even though it's not much, it's kind of forcing people to put something in the description of their key, like what is your goal with this key? So if you want to time it, if that's your goal, like I only care about timing it, like that's all we need is competitive. But if it's your first time seeing a key, or if you're learning a spec, anything below that, you can put learning, and then anything in between, you're just vibing, maybe hop in Discord, like, I don't know, have some fun. Put relaxed, I think more things like that to kind of space out the community would help us a lot because otherwise if everyone's kind of clumped in with different goals, you have two people doing a +10 for completely different reasons, and I think that lack of clarity can lead to toxicity in the long run if things go poorly. If one of the people don't meet their objective. But I mean, a lot of that could be on us to make it more clear, but I do think there are some more steps that Blizzard can take to kind of, even if they have to force us to communicate, like do that, even if it's not like communicating during a key. I mean, like communicating, before a key for the most part. But that
Yeah,
is something that I've noticed, like as a newer player for sure.
yeah, I think setting the expectation is huge, regardless of what your goal is. Setting the expectation can make a world of difference. Mad Skills, do you have anything you want to add to this conversation, this question?
I think this is an interesting one. I think it just really depends on where your goals are. I know Avu was talking about, and I get that completely. I think that actually works for people. I'm not sure if you feel it because it might feel like you're playing as someone who covers World of Warcraft. You play World of Warcraft a lot. You probably play, multiple hours a day and all those things. And then sometimes it might feel a little bit like work. And then sometimes you're doing like Mythic Plus or dungeons or raids or whatever, and you're like, um, it might feel like, oh, I just want to finish this type of thing. And I do think that's more to do with like content creation. But as a normal World of Warcraft player, there are people who will play the game for multiple different reasons, right? I started off playing game in a specific guild that was very casual, it was friendly and all those things. I think guilds are very important because I think guilds create a really good sense of community. I think if you don't have someone to guide you when you start playing World of Warcraft, you're gone. Like World of Warcraft is insanely bad at setting up a new player's experience, or at least there's like 20 different tools you need to use outside. Like you don't need to use them outside, but you might be just making a lot of mistakes that are not just really covered in game, right? But I started off playing the game very casual, and then over time, I wanted to do like, okay, I want to start killing bosses. I want to start doing Mythic Plus. I want to, start climbing ranks, and eventually reached the point where I enjoyed my guild. I liked the social aspect of it, but the number one thing for me was let's kill the boss, let's get a good rank, and that's it, right? So for me, min maxing and then almost like it's not it didn't feel like a job or anything like that, but it's min-maxing and making sure that if someone makes if one person makes the same mistake 10 times over, I mean it's not great, right? I didn't want to be wiping to a boss because most of the mythic bosses is like 300, or end tier bosses like 300 400 wipes, which is absolutely insane. So I didn't want to wipe in that, and then I ended up joining a guild where it was a lot more focused about let's get the job done. So this all comes down to the whole point of I was playing the game a little bit to the point where I want to have fun, but also I want to get this finished, right? I don't know if that's the best way to put it, because I do think that gaming in general is kind of going this way as well. There used to be, I feel like there used to be time where it was all about more about the social aspect, and I feel like classic is probably more of that because I do play classic a bit more, and I feel like retail, high-end retail, feels very much like, or high-end, it feels very much like you can still have fun, but you don't want to be making the same mistake 20 times without improving.
It's
I
so
don't,
competitive.
yeah,
It's
uh,
unbelievably competitive. Can I ask you a
yeah,
question about that, Mad Skills? Because
yeah.
you're the type of player then who started WoW and you were like, wow, this game's super fun. I'd like to level up now. Like I want to level up my own gameplay. Like I want to progress in the game. But do you think that the game, at what level should, I don't know, Steve, who's like 45 years old and has two kids and comes home from working his 9 to 5 job, like deals with his kids. It's like 9 p.m. They finally go to sleep. He's like, great, I have 2 hours to game. Maybe I'll push it to 3 and lose some sleep. I'm going to log into my favorite game, World of Warcraft. Should Steve be able to just walk in and do a +10? Because like I feel like there's some people who are like, no, actually the game, Steve should only be able to, he should just be settled for like an, I don't think, I feel like Steve should be able to do a 10, a 12, whatever the kind of reward incentive is. Because I also think that if the game is made for Steve, then people like you and I, we're not quitting. Like, how many people do you know with the simplification of Midnight? The top 1%, the people who are super into min maxing, and that's the joy they get out of it. Yeah, it's going to be simpler. But if they really took a lot of that and just made it more accessible, how many of those people are quitting? Like a handful, maybe? Like maybe a few, but we're all chronically addicted at that level. You don't get to that level if you're not playing a ridiculous amount and have so much passion
No,
for
I
the game. Like,
agree.
what do you
I
think
agree.
about that?
I agree. I think most of the people who are really have been really over. I don't want to say most of the people. I don't have the data, but I feel like I do think that a lot of people who are extremely negative about the midnight, they've probably been playing the game 10 hours a day anyways, and they're gonna log and they're probably writing in the comments, not buying this expansion, not logging in. The second expansion comes out, they'll be the first ones logged in. I can almost guarantee you that because
Mm.
like you said, chronic. This is actually addiction to some point where it's actually not really healthy, and sometimes it makes you think about, am I actually having fun to some extent? But I actually think that's how games, they have to give you the dopamine levels, and if this game is not giving it to you, then other game is going to give it to you because that's how literally marketing and game development is working now. So Blizzard has to do that, right? But I don't think a lot of the top end players are going to quit. I think they're going to give it a try. I think they're going to try it out. And these changes were made for the people who use those. Like the add-on change was made for the people who use the weak auras that make bosses like Fractalus, like a weak aura boss in Mythic version. How many people actually even got the Mythic version of Fractalus? Like the thing is that a lot of these changes that were aimed for Midnight is going to impact a very small percentage, and probably that small percentage is not even going to quit anyways, or if they do quit, it's not even matters for Blizzard because it's probably a very small percentage. And most of the other changes were actually pretty decent, right? The simplification and stuff like that is going to help out a lot of the players. I don't think it's going to be as many new players coming into World of Warcraft as maybe Blizzard thinks. I think MMOs is one of those things that I don't know. You kind of have
Say
to
it.
really get into it. Um, yeah,
How
but
do you get people into WoW? It's how do you get? It's such a bad experience for new players. I agree with what you were saying. You're like you need somebody to guide you. It's so weird. We're just taking for granted. We've been playing this game for way too long. How do you get into WoW? That's a whole we we don't have enough time on this podcast to visit that question. I don't want to derail us too much.
No, you're fine, man. You're fine. We are at the hour and a half mark, so I'm not going to drag it out too much longer. But Awu, I know this specific topic was really important to you, and I know it's important to a lot of people. Is there anything else specifically you wanted to talk about, mention, bring up, address?
No, just thank you for giving me a chance to talk about it on a public setting. I just think
Of course, man.
it's so weird. The game's supposed to be fun. It's a fun game. I wouldn't log in if I didn't have fun, if there wasn't passion for it. And I just think so many people think like that and somehow get shut down for wanting to play it that way. It's so random to me how many people are in a Discord that I'm a part of, and they're all about, can I play this talent? Somebody's like, no. What do you mean no? It's like a 0.5% loss. Absolutely, you can play that talent. Can I macro this ability? Hell yeah. If that's going to make your gameplay better, yes. Will you have a better time playing the game? Absolutely. Is it a 1.3% loss? Absolutely. Yeah, sure, do it. I know some people who are going to play Guardian Druid with a 50% less effective build because it suits their playstyle, and they're well within their right to do so. If they want to tank and that's how they want to play it, it's probably going to do about 50% as much as it should do. But if that's the way they want a game, power to them.
All right, listen. My main mod Druish just brought up a really good question. This is a yes or no answer, everyone. All right, we're gonna go around the table. Awu, Bloodlust. Is it an ability that you should bind, or an ability you should only click and it should never be bound?
Are you me? Because if you're me, you forget to press it every time.
Okay.
The answer is no.
That's the answer.
No.
That's the one.
No. You can't macro it. You have to bind it.
Wait, you're saying you have to bind Bloodlust? Like key bound?
Bloodlust.
Oh,
can't Bloodlust at the wrong
who
time.
am I interviewing right now? This is ridiculous. All right, the LBN, is your Bloodlust bound or unbound?
I click it every time.
Okay, thank you.
If I remember.
Matt Skills, bound or unbound?
It's like the only button that's unbound.
Thank God. All right, Awu, you're out of here.
It's in the corner.
What are you guys saying? You macro it or you bind? Oh, you mean like you press it though intentionally, right?
Yeah, you
We
click
with our mouse.
Right. I do not
yeah, no,
bind.
sorry, I click. Yeah.
Okay,
My bad.
Do not bind. I probably worded that poorly. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you meant like, can you macro it, like automatically press it out when it's
I
off
apologize.
cooldown?
No.
Oh, okay. Whew.
Anyway, just had to ask the question. All right, we're gonna segue into our last main topic here. I thought that was wonderful, and I think you hit the nail on the head. We could spend a whole hour and a half, 2 hours just on that, and still not touch on everything that we'd want to talk about. So, I want to talk real quick about what players can or should expect for Midnight. We are essentially, what is it? As of the recording, this is December 28th right now for me. We're basically 2 months out. We have a very small amount of time. A caveat real quick, it is storming outside, so if my power goes out, I do have a battery backup. But we'll have a short few minutes if the power goes out to wrap this up, so bear in mind. I should be okay, knock on wood. But Awu, based on what you've been playing, of course, what should players realistically expect when Midnight launches in about 2 months?
I think there would be a big learning curve. Like I said, I think the game will feel like, if for Mythic Plus in particular, Mythic Plus will feel like Mythic Plus. But I think that the biggest expectation should be, we're all learning this new system. And it's very important that you do not go in with the expectation that everything is going to go smoothly. You're going to have tanks that are adjusting, healers that are adjusting, DPS that are adjusting. You're going to see a lot more mistakes, mostly because it's the start of a new expansion. So there's always a boon of new players who haven't played in a while, and they don't know, we mentioned earlier, healers can't track defenses, but it's not like people press defensives anyways in most groups. And healers lose their kick, but DPS don't use their kick to begin with. So that's why it feels bad sometimes. You're like, well, it's because they don't use it, so I have to do it. So the idea is, rather than go in with the expectation that everything's going to go smoothly and then get upset when it doesn't, the first part of an expansion is a learning curve. So I would go in with the intent to learn. 99.9% or something like that of the player base does not play beta. We've been playing beta. So I've seen all the dungeons. I know all the mechanics. I can tell you that specific mob codes that specific way. But people don't know that. They've never seen the bosses, so they're going to walk in and they're going to wipe. And that is okay. You got to learn. And I think that that is probably the best thing. The other one that I'll just shout out is make friends in that process. That's the best time to make friends. Communicate with people and you're like, you know what, that guy, he was really nice. We wiped and he was like, no worries, guys. Add him. It's the start of an expansion. Add him. Going into midnight, things will be so different that if you find people who learn the way that you learn, this is the best time to make friends. So I think that
Hard.
that's the biggest thing I'll say.
Hard agree. Absolutely, man. Network, connect with people that are, playing what you want to play, performing the way you want to perform, and just rock and roll. Totally agree with that, man. LBN, what do you think is going to feel better immediately when Midnight goes live here in a couple of months?
I kind of hate that Awu said that because he stole my answer. But I mean, there will be a lot of learning, and with learning comes a lot of growing pains. But I feel like one thing that a lot of people have forgotten, especially long-term players, are what it's like to kind of learn a new game, learn a new system. Because you show up, you come from Dragonflight to War Within, and you kind of have to learn the changes, but you kind of pick back up where you left off, for the most part. You still have that, but there's a lot of growing pains, and with that comes a lot of learning. And I feel like a lot of people have kind of forgotten how fun it is to learn something new. A brand new game comes out, it's fun while you're learning it, but then you put it down and you come back to WoW. We're going to kind of have that experience again. A lot of people who did not play the beta are going to learn a fantastic dungeon pool. I've had a lot of fun in these dungeons. There are a lot of mechanics that are going to be frustrating if you let them be, but for the most part, like I was saying, it's going to create a lot of opportunities for interaction with other players. And if you are one of the players that knows what's going on a mechanic, absolutely type it out. Like type out like, hey, don't let our wires crawl. Don't let our dudes touch each other all at once. Like don't everyone jump into that big silence bubble at once. Things are going to have there's going to be some growing pain, but I think turning those into like bonding moments, teaching moments is just the better approach. Like people are going to be confused, especially because sometimes you're focused on what does this new talent do, or like why isn't this working the way it used to, that you're not even focusing on like maybe a dungeon mechanic that killed you. So there's going to be a lot of that, a lot of the growing pains, but it's going to be fun. It's going to feel like a brand new game to an extent, and I think a lot of people are going to have more fun at midnight than they're expecting to because of that.
Was that a Ghostbusters reference? Don't let the streams cross.
That's actually
No,
a specific boss that's
I'll
going to
take
cause
it.
a lot of problems.
Yeah, that boss is crazy.
It's where people are going to learn. No
Me
problem.
and Awu. So I didn't tell Awu, but that was my first time seeing that dungeon, and I'm pretty sure it was me that caused us to wipe every time.
Oh.
But it was chaos. But yeah,
You gotta remember. You gotta remember when you see us do it. If you tune into our streams the first day of beta, you're gonna be like, "Wow, they're timing all their keys," because we've wiped in it like 100
hundreds.
times
Yeah.
already. Because I already went in as a tank and died, and I was like, "Oh, what's this?" And then I went in and I died again, and I was like, "Third time's a charm. I got this," and then I got it. So it's that repetition has already been built up.
That's a really good point. I feel like a lot of people don't think about that, is the fact that you guys, whoever, yeah, this is not our first, second, or even 10th time in a dungeon to run a boss, So a lot of it comes down to practice. Mad Skills, what do you think is going to feel a little rough until tuning passes happen sometime in these next few months? Especially with the pre-patch coming up and leading into midnight.
That's interesting. I feel like anyone who uses add-ons, that's probably going to be rough.
Yes,
just
sir.
getting used to, like, most people will probably be working on their new UIs and things like that. I mean, most of the add-ons that change how, cosmetic add-ons are working, they're there. There's a bunch of new add-ons coming out. There's actually some add-ons that are being created that are better than what you see in retail. But it's just, just the whole concept of just going from one UI to another UI. I think that's going to be really rough at the start. For the people who don't use add-ons, I think it's going to be really nice because you're just getting, I'm pretty sure cooldown manager in the retail version has to be like I can't curse, right? But it has to be like pretty bad. Because even in the midnight beta version, it's still missing quite a few like tracking. I'm hoping that's gonna be fixed. Outside of add-ons, even with the pre-patch, I don't know. I feel like some of the healers are going to feel very different. Again, if you played Flame Shaper, Preservation Evoker, that is some big changes happening to that healer. Some people might like that, might not. I'm really interested to see how healing is gonna feel because the talents are coming out with the pre-patch, right? So I'm really interested to see how that's going to feel like.
It's gonna be so wild. Mad skills, imagine, because you're still gonna have this current dungeon pool. So
What about
you're
Yeah.
gonna walk into Priory with the new prune talents.
Unplayable.
That's a
What
you
is that?
problem, Awu.
How are you gonna do? Like, do healers also lose their kick, but you still have to play
Yeah.
the current retail dungeons for like a month, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's like
they're gonna give compensation. Well, I think they mentioned this at some point. They're gonna buff the tiers or something. Cause
You also forget, like, you're thinking that we're going to queue up for a Priory for that short time. I'm avoiding that like the plague.
that's true.
But like, how are they going to do? Like, a lot of our tier sets are becoming part of our talent tree in
Yeah.
Midnight. How are they just taking away tier set or changing
Yeah,
them for that
they're
week?
changing it to what, 6%, 10%,
6%.
something like that.
6% healing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting. Ooh, okay.
The last pre-patch was just it was actually, again, sometimes we take this optimization and balance too far. For a brief period of time, it is super fun to play WoW when everything's broken. For a brief period,
Yeah,
for like
I
a
agree.
week or two, it's actually so much fun to log in and be like, yeah, what is this?
Mhm.
And like one spec is doing like 50% more than it should be. And you just play that spec for a week and you're like, this is fun. Not for a season, please no, but
Yeah.
it is kind of fun to do that sometimes.
I think that's corruption in BFA.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you missed out
Gorgeous.
on that. I don't want to spend a huge amount of time explaining it, but there was this. Do you know what the corruption gear
Yeah,
was?
yeah. I've heard a
Oh,
lot about
man.
it. People always rave about it. They loved it. Yeah.
I also missed out on that, by the way. I didn't get to play
Oh.
BFA. I had to take that time off
Oh
because I
man,
had
it
just moved to
was.
Thailand. I didn't have a computer, so that was the only time I haven't played WoW.
Yeah, that was wild. Heart of Azeroth and then corruption gear. Yeah, corrupted gear, whatever it was called. Woo, what habits from the War Within do you think are going to get players killed early on in Midnight during pre-patch or maybe the first few weeks, whatever?
Greeting their damage. That is going to get people as a healer, as a tank, and as a DPS, because I think they're going to tune it to be more approachable. Right now, it's always like this on beta, but like the timers in the dungeons, everyone thinks that they're always way tighter than they should be because there's a timer ticking down and you get anxious. But the truth is that until a very, very high level, your timers, you play clean. You've never not timed a dungeon with 1 or 2 deaths. Like it's very rare that happens. Occasionally you get somebody who is really not pressing any buttons, but very rarely does that happen. So I think that the biggest habit is at the end of an expansion, we're super powerful. We have all these stats, we have all this thing, and we've also been playing for a long time now. So we know how our spec feels, we know what the dungeon is. There's a lot of times when you're like, I'm going to min-max this because that's fun. But you're going to greed. The caster greeds, just don't do that. And especially healers, because healer damage is even lower, relatively speaking, than it is right now. So it's like, is it? I walked into a 15 Windrunner Spire today, and I was excited to test my Arcane Mage. It was the first key I did. And I walked in, and I died. And like, could I have pressed the defensive? Absolutely. But my Druid was in cap form. And I was like, just pre-ramp, like heal. Please, like, don't greed. Like you did like 2,000 instead of 1,000. Like, congratulate. Like, I think that greeting is that was on me, by the way. I should have pressed the defensive. I'll take the blame
It's
for that
always
one.
your fault. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Afterward, I typed healer in chat and then told him
There
things
you
about
go.
his mother he did
Good.
not know.
As you should. Yes.
Yeah, but no, greeting. I think that habit of just really viewing the game as like a one for all and prioritizing your own globals in any level of content, even the highest level, I think that it's going to be a team effort going into Midnight, especially the first season while we're getting used to things. So that.
LB Ninja, I want to kind of shift gears just a little bit. Same topic, but despite any of the worries that players might have, what makes Midnight worth getting excited about in your from your perspective?
I think a lot of people have kind of, it's so easy to talk about like, oh, devs do this and devs do that, but a lot of people forget that the developers, they want the game to succeed. So when they take giant leaps, like big shifts like they have coming into Midnight, it's not, they're not trying to destroy their own game. A lot of people are worried about like like worried for rightfully so about like how their spec's going to perform, how this and that, like how is it going to be healing without a kick, all these things. Like yeah, they're things to worry about, but I think what a lot of people are probably forgetting or probably haven't noticed yet is I really do think that Midnight season 1 might be rough. It's going to be rough around the edges. We're still going to be in the growing period, but I think season 2 of Midnight is probably going to be some of the best WoW that anyone's ever seen. Like I know that's like pretty tall to say, but I really do think that the direction they're heading in is for the betterment
this.
of the game. What'd you say?
Clip this for future
Clip-
reference.
Clip this.
Oh yeah, hold on. No, I'm reading Mad Skill's chat right now. Is what I'm saying. But I really do think like if they can sharpen the edges of what they're trying to do, as someone who started playing in Shadowlands, like I was excited to get into raiding, and then I got there. I built up my character, went through the whole like pre-game of WoW, and then I got to raiding, and they're like, okay, download this add-on, this add-on, this add-on. Like, make sure you have this sound alert on for this mechanic and stuff. So, and I was like, is this really it? Is this what I was building up to? And then now I'm just used to the game dinging when I need to step out of a swirly, or like things like that. But I really do think that we're going to be playing more of WoW in the future than we have ever. So I'm optimistic. Clip that.
That's good. Clip that.
I give a little bit of a hot take
Absolutely.
as well. I don't see why season 1 can't be the best season.
I
actually,
I'm being,
yeah, I think you're
I
with me, right,
agree.
LB? Like
Yeah.
these dungeons are pretty solid.
It's a
Like
good
I think they
dungeon
did.
pool.
Yeah, there's a few little issues, of course, little knickknacks, but yeah, I mean, why can't everybody's like season 2, like later in Midnight, like like right when Midnight comes out, I feel like it might be a really good time. They're trying all these new things. Good for them. I agree with you, and I'm glad you said that. Good on them for taking swings. I don't see why Midnight season 1 couldn't be one of the best seasons ever.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of
Don't clip that, but
yeah, clip
know,
it.
I'm
But
clipping.
a lot.
could happen.
Yeah, Prudle's gonna clip it. But a lot of the like the biggest worries that people have, which we haven't really touched on much except for Holy Shock, is the numbers behind things. Like a lot of what's wrong right now in beta is just they haven't really had that big like the big sweeping tuning of a lot of things that need it. So a lot of that is like the big gripe, and I feel like that it could be fixed before season 1 starts, and then everything's kind of like working as it should. But yeah, I think people are really down. It's easy to doom. It's so easy to doom. But being optimistic, like once you like allow yourself to do that, you see that Midnight's, especially if you've played the beta, it's a good time. So I think people are in for a treat if they haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I often go into things in life with optimism in mind and whatnot. So I'm trying to I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm trying to have the same mindset of let's just have a good time. Let's not overthink it or doom too much. So fingers crossed. And that comes from somebody who very much likes weak auras and many other things that I'm losing, but nevertheless. Thank you for sharing that, my man. Mad Skills, you doing okay? I didn't mention this, by the way, but Mad Skills is under the weather. So can we give it up for Mad Skills for being here this whole time and not complaining once? You're amazing, dude. Thank you so much. I do have one more direct question for you, sir. You feeling okay? You good?
Yeah.
What a champ. Holy moly. I want to know whether or not you agree with this take, Mad Skills. Here we go. Midnight is not necessarily a reset to easy mode, quote unquote, but rather it's a reset to awareness. Players who pay attention, who adapt well, who communicate, they will find the changes easier to navigate than those who don't.
100%. I was about to say this here because you were talking about what is the first thing? What was the last question? What was the first thing that you're gonna notice when you're
Yeah.
gonna log into midnight? The first thing you're gonna notice is that there isn't gonna be a weak order that tells you dodge this, jump out of this. You're just gonna have to kind of pay attention, because I know there's probably going to be some sort of add-ons to help with that, and there is some sort of audio cues that are being added, because audio cues were broken for so much of the beta. Like, it would actually break your character in some cases. It was so crazy. So there are audio cues and things like that are being added, but if you like, a lot of the people, for the first time they log into midnight, they'll get the WeakAura package. The WeakAura package with 75,000 icons and 75,000 little voice notifications and a raid package, and then they do a dungeon and it basically tells you everything, and you kind of learn the dungeon through that. When I logged into the beta, like, without any of this, it's like you just kind of have to like even look at what the boss is doing and or the voice lines, and you just kind of have to pay attention to it. And you know what? It was absolutely breath of fresh air. I absolutely think that I don't think I don't think it should be needed, because I would almost say that it is needed if you're playing retail to install some of these WeakAura packages, because they're absolutely a huge, not quality of life, but a competitive advantage, because they can do so many things. And I can tell you that you can prevent wipes by using these WeakAuras. But if Midnight achieves one thing for me, which is if you don't have to install these WeakAura packages that tell you everything, and you don't have to do a raid where the raid leader spends 20 minutes going through everyone's WeakAura versions, making sure that everyone has the right version. If Midnight achieves this, the game has improved a lot because or just even paying attention to the boss and what the boss does, and then you're like, oh, the mechanic is coming in now. I think that's actually pretty cool, because let's be honest, I think and this again, just like Brutal said, this is coming from someone who likes WeakAuras, who likes all these add-ons. I think we have been conditioned a little bit to use these add-ons and to almost say that the game is better with these add-ons. But I actually think Midnight is going to surprise people. Like, it might sound like I'm a bit of a doomer because I just like to complain about things, but I think a lot of the changes in Midnight are really cool. I think if they can, I think most people are unhappy about like the add-ons being pushed, the add-on removal or changes being done really quickly. I think most people wanted it to wait an expansion. I think that's what Blizzard wanted. Blizzard wanted like almost an additional expansion to do this, but they end up doing it really fast. But if you get to play the game without being relied on these third-party tools, I think this could be a great expansion. If it achieves that by itself, I think this could be a really, really nice tool. And people will be surprised about how much fun it can be when you don't have to rely on these add-ons. I think that's also going to be surprising.
Nicely well
One
said,
thing
sir.
to add on to that.
Sure.
Sorry if I can.
Absolutely.
So we played a competitive level. I don't think most people use those things already. Again, it's one of those, like, we have to zoom out a little bit and realize I'm an enjoyer of WoW content, so I've been listening. And I keep hearing people discuss these weak aura changes. But the vast majority of players don't have weak auras. They already didn't use them. So it's not like it's going to be changing for a lot of people. I know some people did. I think that, like, your cooldown manager is a weak aura, like, using something like that. But I swear, most people, I've been in plus 19, plus 20 priories where people didn't have weak auras and then died to a mechanic, and they're like, what happened? I was like, you don't have the thing? And they're like, no. I was like, oh, okay, that's a little weird for that level, but sure. I've been in these situations. There's a lot of people in those priories where after a year of doing them, people still don't know the mechanic. And it's like, I think that we do have to zoom out and just kind of realize that we might be talking about a very specific problem. And I do think, as we said earlier, that the people that problem affects are going to play anyways. And I agree, though, it is a breath of fresh air. So very positive about those changes.
Well, if you guys are comfortable with speed running some viewer questions, if assuming you guys have time for a few more minutes, viewer questions.
I'm good.
All right, let's rock and roll. A lot came in, and by the way, real quick, I have heard throughout this episode in Twitch chat that this panel, i.e., the three of you guys, fantastic job. People really vibing, really liking you guys being here, and demanding that you come back. So you can definitely expect me to slide back in your DMs in 2026, whether you
You're
want me
welcome
to or
to.
not. All right, the first question comes from what?
I was gonna say you just gotta make the Thailand time difference where I'm literally across the world.
It wasn't. It wasn't that bad. It
Yeah.
wasn't that bad. I like waking up early, but nevertheless, first question comes from Apothecary. This is directly to a woo. It seems he says, "Do you think for a healer?" All right, he's asking a healer question to a woo. That's okay. Do you think for a healer like Void Weaver Disc that the problem is solely a tuning issue, or their fundamental kit will still struggle in some of these upcoming dungeons even with good tuning?
If you've been playing Void Weaver Disc at all right now on beta, it's a tuning issue more than anything. Like it's one of those you are a skillful healer and you're supposed to ramp. I do think that they took a lot of things away from it, and my only issue is tank healing. That's like the main thing. If my tank is needing help, and a lot of these pulls they are, like I did a key 15 Algathar with the Brewmaster, and I was just like, normally I wouldn't call a class disadvantage and be like, this is a bad pairing, because at the moment, pretty much any tank can pair with any healer. There's not really like a dream match anymore. But man, was that a bad match, because what was I supposed to do? Like I actually had nothing for him because he pulled a big pull. There's bleeds on him. He needed direct healing. And I was like, I got Void Blast. Yeah. So the problem is that if they overtune it to the degree that it could do that tank healing, it would also be incredibly OP for healing because of how the profile of which it heals through Atonement. So Void Weaver might have a bit of a identity issue, potentially. They can't overtune it because it would be an outlier. That one might be a tough one.
Lunaray_star asks, I have a question for each of you. We'll start with LBN. What drew you to healing? Was it due to playing that role in another game?
You know, I didn't heal before WoW, but I haven't not healed since WoW. I think WoW has such a unique way to heal. I mean, we fight bosses in reverse. While you're trying to min-max your damage and just dodge things, like our mechanics are the damage that the boss does, you know? So it's kind of like we're doing the reverse health bar of the boss. And I've always thought that that was like so interesting. And now, you know, I go and play the other Blizzard games. I can't not play a healer on Overwatch if I play it. Like Heroes of the Storm, if I ever want to play a game of that, like I'll play a healer. You know, any game that I play now, I'm just like, I'm still chasing that high of like healing in WoW. So I don't know what brought me to it, but I will say like I started as a Resto Druid, so I kind of started off with it, and it was kind of the theme around Resto Druid that got me in. But then it was Mistweaver's punch kick healing that kept me here. So
What about you, Mad Skills? What drew you to healing?
I think it's because it's not as scientific as a lot of different roles. And by scientific, I mean, if you're playing a DPS, you have 1, 2, 3 rotation, right? For pretty much everything, for single target, for 2 targets, for AoE. And for healing, you kind of have to make these split-second decisions a lot of the times. Because even let's say, for example, everyone's taking damage in raid, you can press your wild growth and do a lot. Well, maybe not the current version of the wild growth, but let's say you press wild growth, AoE heal, but someone is, or you could just do a single target heal on someone who's 10% who's about to die. You lose out on that HPS, but you actually save someone's life. And even if that's not showing up in the logs, you know that you did the right thing. In most cases, there's nothing that intricate for DPS, right? They just press buttons. Just press buttons. But
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah.
I don't want the DPS players to hate me because I actually think DPS is very. I play DPS when I want to chill out, when I want to do something, just like, you know, just turn off my brain and things like that. I know playing DPS really well can be exhausting, can be hard and things like that, but healing is just something that doesn't have a perfect rotation in most cases. and you just have to do something at the right moments, and it just feels so good when you keep someone alive, even if they messed up. On the flip side, it is exhausting, but I think we play healer because we like that kind of punishment to some extent. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I will say, when you get a message from a guildie after you save them with like a cocoon or a lay on hands, there's nothing like that. Like DPS doesn't have that. Like maybe a good stun, but like there's nothing like that.
Good stuff.
What about you? What drew you to tanking?
Well, what drew me to tanking? Ooh, you want the real answer? I came back to the game. I had a little laptop that I got in Thailand. It was capable of playing WoW. It was right at the start of Shadowlands that I was able to come back to the game. So this is before I used to run a guild and I played everything. I started off as a hunter. I want to play hunter actually, so I was DPS. And I was like trying to do dungeons. I was getting into Mythic Plus. And I was just like, oh, these guys are not good. We can't do the I'm not gonna lie, I remember having that thought of like, wait a second, why don't I just do this? And in that sense back then, I didn't have friends, I didn't have a guild, I was very like a solo player, so I wanted to do content. And I was very interested in like pushing that content. So I realized if I take on the role that has the most statistical effect on us timing that key, which is that role? And I determined it was tanking. And I still believe that. Tank sets the pace. You can't outplay a bad tank. You can outplay a bad DPS. Very difficult to outplay a bad healer, but it's not impossible. But there's a level where that's not true either. Tanks and healers, they are the crux. You could be playing with the best DPS in the world. If your tank is not on top of it, you cannot do the dungeon. So I think I'm a person who really likes doing it my own way. I've kind of always been a little bit of a rebel. And tanking allows me to do that because somebody can tell me, oh, do this. And I'll be like, no. I want to do it my way. And so there's an element of that 100%. And then I kind of just stuck with it. And I just like the role that has the responsibility. Sometimes it's definitely a little stressful and I wish I was playing DPS. I ultimately play everything. I just have a chronic problem with I'm a massive altaholic. I actually will play every spec in the game and I'll change it up per season. End of Dragonflight, I was a preservation evoker when Restlo Druid was really good. And I was pushing keys on Prez.
Yeah, that was
Sometimes I
the
tank most of the time.
that was the reason why I started tanking back in 2005. But yeah, that's exactly the reason why I did the same thing. All right, mega speed round, real short and sweet here. Question again from Luna Ray. LBN, we'll start with you. What are you maining or planning to main in Midnight? Go.
Yikes. I'll just say Mistweaver.
Okay. Mad Skills, what
Yeah.
about you?
I have no idea, to be honest.
Are you leaning
That's the
toward
real
anything?
answer.
We'll see a week before, actually, a week after the expansion comes out.
Woo, what about you?
One tank, one healer, one DPS.
That's fair. That's fair. Fang Bosson 9328 says, wonderful panel. Agreed. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. If you have limited time for play and you want to play multiple roles, would you just play Druid or Paladin or Monk if you're just looking for fun? Thanks for answering. Who wants to take that one?
For fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you have
Wait,
limited
what
time
did
into playing, limited time to play, do you play a class that can do all roles? Is basically what it's
Oh,
Yeah, 100%. I think so. I would go Druid because it's just chill. But like, imagine leveling a hunter and you're like, I hate DPS. Like, I want to heal. You have to start over. Like, starting as a Druid, it was like chef's kiss. Like, it was perfect to do.
I think that's
Druid's
a
the right answer
very
there.
fair take. Yeah. Rampy asks.
Oh,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, statistically, Druid is the one that's gonna have the most options, the most viability. You can be, I want to be melee DPS, range DPS. I want to be a tank. I want to be a healer, and all of those things have sort of necessary parts of the group. Whereas oftentimes, Holy Paladin and Mistweaver are very niche.
Mhm.
So
Agreed.
like Brewmaster and Mistweaver are a little bit more of a leap than a Guardian Druid or Resto Druid.
All right, I think I'm going to make time for one more question because we're already so far over time. Well, I'll ask a question from Malareth. I think this is a good question. Have you guys spoken about anything related to party or raid frames for healers and midnight? Mad Skills, you want to take that one real quick?
Yeah, so I've basically been using an add-on that kind of gives you a lot of customization, but the party rate frames still have a lot of limitations. So the way that the add-ons, they just in combat, they cannot tell which buff or debuff you have. They can actually do cooldown numbers now, which is great, which is a weird thing because I haven't logged in the last couple of days because I was away, but I'm pretty sure the default rate frames don't show cooldown numbers for spells. And then you can get add-ons to show cooldown numbers. So this is what I'm talking about, how add-ons have more features than the actual default implementation of default Blizzard stuff, which is again completely what they were going against. But the rate frames, so you can't specifically say that, hey, you have Renewing Mist, you have Atonement, you have a buff that you want to change the color of the frame because you want it to be really noticeable. You can't do that because Blizzard doesn't let you to kind of see what buffs, what debuffs you have, because if they let you do that, then we're basically back to what it was before, because that's the biggest like restriction. So that means that if you're playing something like Press Evoke has like 6 or 7 buffs that you shows up on the frames. It's almost like vomit of information. Because it's just too much. Some of the stuff you might want it to be like, it's not that important. I wanted to have a smaller icon. And you can't do that. You can't separate because it's either you get an area for a debuff and you get an area for a buff, and then you can use add-ons like Dander's frames, which can change the position of it. You can add borders. You can add numbers to it. You can make everything nice. You can you can do a lot of things, but the most important things of specifying buffs, whitelisting, blacklisting, or whatever, filtering, that's not there. So if you've been someone who's been using like any of these add-ons, like I hear this every day, right? Voodoo, Cell, Grid2, LVUI, every day people ask me, is that available in Midnight? And the answer is basically, I mean, the add-ons might continue. I heard Cell is continuing as well and things like that. But the answer is basically is, if they continue, they're going to be very limited in terms of what they provide or what you can get in the War Within. So you might as well get used to it now, because I don't think they're going to change that. Because if they do change that, then they're going full 360. So you just have to. I mean, certain healers are just going to be easier, or not easier to play, but some of these add-on changes for certain healers is just going to be easier, because tracking everything on Resto Druid or Pres Evoker versus tracking something on Resto Shaman who has like 2 buffs to track is just way easier, right?
Can
Either
I
one, do you
add
guys
on
want
to
to?
that real quick?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, I would love to. So the only thing I'll say is I don't know if they're going to walk it back entirely, but I watched your video on Dander's frames. I have been I'm stubborn. I'm really stubborn. I'm going to play the entirety of the beta cycle with no add-ons and base UI, with effectively no cooldown manager either. I will only use what Blizzard gives me just to really see the evolution of it. When we first started beta, we had nothing. Now we have Nef UI, Dander's frames, etc., etc., etc. That's 1 month into development. I really think by 3 months, the game will look, you'll have almost everything that you could want, with a very few exceptions. Like, if we already have this within a month, I'm very curious to know what it will look like within 3 months. So I'm pretty curious. Like, I watched your video and I was like, wow, you could do all these things? I didn't even know you could do all that right now. So I think that what people are like, I'm really worried about the UI. We can't answer that yet. We actually don't really know how it's going to end up, because they could at any point just be like, you know what, guys, we tried, we're sorry, my bad, here we go. And they could walk it back. That's their ripcord. If they decide they can't do it, they have that option. And you know for a fact every single add-on developer's back. They could do that. Like, I don't think they will, because that would be quite a... Well, it's a controversy to sell their game. Maybe this is actually a genius marketing ploy I've just come up with. Maybe they're like, sorry guys, my bad, add-ons are back. Who knows?
LB, you want to add anything to it?
Yeah, I mean, I just echo what they say. I mean, week one of the beta, it was a catastrophe. I mean, you toggled on your stacking nameplates and they just like bounced all over the place. Like things were rough, and a lot of things still kind of are rough around the edges, but it's not nearly as bad as it was. And I think, I have a programmer that hangs out in my Twitch chat, and he was like, I mean, they're not going to be able to do this before it comes out. Like, they're not going to be able to do, like, I'll just say, like, oh, just buff this. And he's like, you have no idea how long that takes. And even then, like, even him kind of like bringing me back down to reality, what they've been able to accomplish, even on their own, like on the Blizzard side of things, is still very impressive, even if it's not perfect. And then even on top of that, what the community's done, like Danders, is like some of the stuff is insanely good. Like we're gonna have a lot more functionality than we think. We might just have to have like 3 add-ons that do what one did in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But even still, why we can't like split up our hots into different corners and stuff? I have like 3 working brain cells, okay, especially on raid night. Why I can't split those up, I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, we've it's come a long way, and we still have plenty of time, and we have during the season, even though that's ideally it's done before then. Like we have plenty of time for things to get to where it should be.
Yeah, man, you guys have been absolutely fantastic. I want to get you guys out of here. We are obviously way over time compared to past shows, so thank you very much for being here and for being patient and so communicative and whatnot. I want to go around and let you guys kind of talk about where the people can find you again, and then also, and we'll start with the Woo. If you could, and keep this short and sweet, baby. If you could give one specific piece of advice going into midnight, what would it be? And then again, tell people who you are and where they can find you, please.
Advice is have fun.
Good
Don't
advice.
worry too much. Just have fun. Yeah, that's the no elaborating on that. Just have fun. It's pretty simple. I think people understand that. Where you can find me, I'm on Twitch, I'm on YouTube, and I stream pretty regularly, kind of chronically. I'm really excited going into 2026. It's my first year like doing it, and I really liked it. It's become such a massive part of my life that I couldn't see my life without it. It's so weird how quickly it's like pervasive. It's like, oh, wait a second, like of course I'm streaming tomorrow. Like what else would I be doing? I don't want to go outside. So it's weird that it's become such a huge part of my life, and I'm really hoping that I can make some content that helps people feel more comfortable in keys so that we don't have as much healer question mark tank question mark and people can feel more comfortable playing the game, and then they can play however they want.
Fantastic.
Twitch,
of course,
YouTube at Wu
Yeah.
Tank, and I post my cat on Instagram if you like cats.
you can find people's links in the description, of course, the YouTube description, Spotify description, all that fun stuff. So please click those things, go follow these guys, sub to these guys, support these guys. LB Ninja 7, any piece of advice real quick, and then where can people find you?
Yeah, I think just come in with an open mind. That just realize that the loudest people is the negative people. So just come in with, allow yourself to kind of form your own opinions after playing it yourself 100%. But where you can find me, also Twitch and YouTube, Open Ninja 7. I also have a TikTok. So check me out on TikTok.
Ooh.
Yeah,
All right.
I just
I
started
gotta
it.
follow
Yeah.
you on TikTok. I made a TikTok the other day. I don't know what I'm doing with it, but I made one.
Yeah, same.
This is my daily life and time. Oh, I'll follow you on TikTok. I didn't know you had one.
Nice.
I
Yeah.
bet.
And then really quick, in case I don't get another chance, I want to shout out the other 2 guests, Woo and Mad Skills. I would not be here making content still if it weren't for them. I also started streaming, and the advice that Mad Skills has given me since I started, and the support that Woo's given me from just a simple raid, has kept me going. So like some of the best guys in the community. So huge shout out.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that, man. I love giving credit where credit is due in that case. So that's really awesome of you, LV Ninja. That's so cool. Mad Skills, wrap it up. Bring us on home, man. Any advice for people, and where can people find you?
The best advice I can give is play the class that you enjoy the most. That's the best value for your subscription in the long run. I think a lot of people kind of forget that with the whole meta and everything and things like that. You can find me with Matt Skills TV on YouTube, Twitch, and I'll make sure to follow LB on TikTok as well. I got TikTok as well, very recently. I guess those are the main ones right now.
Yep. And thank you guys so much for being here. Again, go follow these guys, sub to these guys, check out the description below. But thank you guys for being here. You guys can find me, of course, Brutal Static, everywhere. And I don't have guests to announce for next week, episode 10. I'm still working on a couple things behind the scenes, but I'll announce those probably within the next day or two. But you can find the podcast most Sundays, usually in the afternoon, but just pay attention to Twitter and stuff for announcements. But man, give yourselves a round of applause. You guys are amazing. Please enjoy the rest of your Sunday. For anyone who was listening and or watching, thank you for participating, hanging out today. Hope you enjoyed the episode. But you guys were absolutely fantastic. So my name's Brutal Static. Check out these guys, and that's all we got for you guys today. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time. Man, thank you guys. You guys, I'm not just saying this to make you feel good about yourselves. You guys really did a fantastic job just rolling with things and having fun. So I genuinely appreciate you guys participating today. It means a great deal to me. So thank you.
Thank you, dude. This is
no, man.
fantastic.
Don't thank me. You guys are doing me and everyone by extension a huge favor by sharing your wisdom and your perspective and everything. So get out of here, go have fun, go enjoy the rest of your Sunday, or in your case, go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
sitting
sitting
here
here with my wisdom. I'm sitting here with my wisdom tooth, and I'm just like, a little bit.
Oh god, you couldn't tell, man. You did great. All of you guys did great.
Thank
So
you.
please, you're very welcome. Thank you. Go enjoy the rest of your day. If I need anything, which I don't think I ever do, I'll obviously contact you guys. But you're amazing. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
10 out of
Appreciate
10.
you so
I
much.
agree. 10. No, thank you so much.
Thank you
I'll
for
talk.
having me, yeah.
No, thank you, man. I hope you guys will consider coming back on sometime next year. I really do appreciate it.
Awesome. And
I
before
genuinely
today-
hope your podcast takes off, by the way. It's
Thank
great.
you, man.
I've really
it already
enjoyed
has, and it will
genuinely.
continue with the quality. You're fantastic.
You do a great job. I've thoroughly actually some of the episodes you've put out. This one obviously is going to be like the best one, but some of the episodes you put out genuinely have been my favorite. Like I just haven't enjoyed
I'm just
another podcast like that.
You guys are awesome. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's very good quality.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you guys are good quality. I think the quality is completely dependent upon the quality of the guests. So let me shine the mirror back at you.
I think you put in more effort into those podcasts than my last 5 videos or something.
I hit start record. I'm just like, all right, here's my update for today. And I've been doing that every day. I've just been making daily beta updates. There's zero editing. I do everything in one take. I don't even own video editing software.
I honestly just the hardest part is the scheduling. Everything else is just a cakewalk compared to that. And you guys seriously made everything so easy today. So thank you. Love you guys.
Jeez.
Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care, guys.
Oh,
Take
Happy
care.
New Year! I didn't say
Bye-bye.
that at all this whole episode.
Oh
Happy
yeah,
New
happy
Year, guys.
holidays,
Oh, yeah.
happy New
Happy
Year.
holidays,
holidays.
Happy New Year! Oh my goodness, man!
Don't
All right, get
get
out of
me
here.
started on another topic. I was about to hit disconnect. All right, we're going
See
for
you
another hour.
guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you,
Catch you
man.
guys later.
That was, of course, as you guys know, I say this after every episode, but I think it's pretty clear that when an episode runs that long, when I find myself smiling as often as I did when the guests are just being themselves. I mean, blah 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 blah. That was fantastic. That was absolutely fantastic. And again, something I say literally every week is it's so nice connecting with people and talking with people and enjoying the company of these people that I've never had the privilege or the opportunity to sit down with before. So Awu, LB, Mad Skills, if you guys are still listening, I know we just got off the call, but thank you guys so much for carving time out of your weekend, out of your Sunday today. And it's so nice to meet you guys, and again to connect with people that I haven't had the opportunity to connect with yet. That was for realsies a lot of fun. So Yazan80 on YouTube says, Brutal, please give PvP a voice. Please consider bringing PvP players onto the podcast like Vinrucky. Yeah, so Yazan, I will say that this is more of a PvE podcast. I'm not opposed to it because I think that, PvP is something that a lot of people enjoy. I have spent practically zero time in the PvP scene over the years. I have no understanding of it, no perspective of it, no experience with it. That's not to say that I won't ever. I wouldn't count on me doing it soon, but that doesn't mean it won't happen ever. I have considered doing it, but with Midnight ramping up, I think it makes more sense to continue talking with people who have been beta testing, you know, classes, specs, dungeons, raid testing, etc., because that's where a lot of interest is right now. And selfishly, it's where my interest is right now. But never say never. Never say never. No PvP. They deserve no spotlight. Oh my goodness. But yeah, the guests today were and again, I don't know if Mad Skills is listening, but my God, the fact that that guy did that podcast under the weather, what an absolute rock star. LB Ninja, your presence was greatly appreciated. Awoo, Mad Skills, everyone's presence was greatly appreciated today. LB, if I may be so bold, he told me he was, you know, surprised to be invited on, and he was making sure that he was reading the questions ahead of time and making sure he understood the questions and whatnot. But you did beyond fantastic. I don't think anyone would question any of the guests' experience or question or have any doubts that they were comfortable and that they knew what they were talking about and that they were engaged and whatnot. So everyone did fantastic today. And again, I say that, of course, at the end of every episode because it is true. Like, you could go back and look at every other episode and everyone's, at least from my perspective, is having fun and hanging out, and we're just chewing the fat and we're talking about things that matter and whatnot. One thing that I want to continue getting better at is making sure things flow and feel as natural as possible. I also mentioned, of course, there is this giant outline and everything is, my questions are scripted in the sense that I have everything written down and color coded so people know who's being asked what. I wound up crossing out, I crossed out a ton of questions today. We literally skipped over an entire topic. The third topic today was supposed to be about dungeons and boss encounters and whatnot. But I was just having fun listening to these guys talk about things that they wanted to talk about. So we cut that. And as long as the episodes continue, or at least maybe this is just my perspective, but as long as they continue feeling natural and people are having fun talking about stuff, then I'm happy with everything. So you're the best show so far, Paul. You're awesome, man. You guys are fantastic. No, I appreciate you, LB Ninja. I do, man. I don't like saying things that I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. And I mentioned this earlier, I'm an optimistic person. I'm also the kind of person that loves to thank people and show appreciation, and I love to gush and whatnot. That's just who I am. But I do mean what I say. You were fantastic. So this is a great episode. I agree, Baller. Sometimes there's just not enough time. That is true. That is very true. I learned misweaving from LB Ninja and Guardian Druid from Awoo. That's, yeah, my buddy Alec, and you guys, you know, those of you who watch the stream regularly, you know about Alec. And Alec sent me a DM months ago. He said, hey, there's this guy Awoo. He taught me how to play Guardian Druid. You should have him on the podcast. This is back in, God, like October or something like that. And admittedly, I'd never heard of Awoo, so I looked into him, and I'm like, yeah, this guy would be a good guest. And I don't remember exactly when we opened we sent our first DMs. I think we might have exchanged DMs, and I could go look, but whatever, in November or something. Yeah, come to find out, he lives in Thailand, which is, I think, 13 hours ahead of where I live or something like that. So we had to figure out the time zone issues, but wasn't bad for me. I like waking up early. I also like staying up late. So my early morning today was his late night, and everything was good, so no issues. I think LB Ninja deserves a lot of credit for that. However, I mean, it's one thing for me to wake up early, right? I'm the daggum host. It's my show, quote unquote. Even though I don't like to say that it's my show, quote unquote. Here comes LB Ninja, who is also in the central time zone and had to also wake up early to do this. Hat off to you, man. Absolutely fantastic that you would do that. For me and for the other two guests and for the people who are watching, that's fantastic. A lot of credit goes to you too. But yeah, go check out these guys, please. Their YouTubes, their Twitches, their Twitters, their TikToks, their everything else's. You'll have links to most everything in the YouTube description below when the video goes live tomorrow. But go, like, click his name now. Go follow him. Click a Woo's name. Go find Mad Skills TV. Go sub to him. Go follow those guys. And yeah, thank you guys for being here today. It is 10:30 my time. I need to go eat breakfast, and then I'm going to start editing. I don't do a lot of editing, but I'm going to edit the video, put an intro and an outro on it. And I might try a little something different today. I have an idea to open this episode a little differently than I've opened the previous 8 episodes, and we'll see if I can pull it off or not. Not that it's anything complicated, but I'm not a video editor, man. I suck at video editing. My brain doesn't work that way. A few years ago, when my wife was home after having given birth to our second child, she started editing my videos. That was back during late BFA. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see that my thumbnails looked a lot better. The video editing was a lot better. That was my wife. That was all her, and I'm just not good. Yeah, me too, Actus. I'm just not good at it. So anyway, I'm gonna go eat breakfast and then come back and get this video cut and start the rendering process, which takes like 6 hours. You're gonna start with yeah. Listen, I'm not saying I am Jewish, but it's interesting your mind would immediately go there. I actually don't know what I'm gonna eat. I'd have to go see what we have in the kitchen. So I've been inspired to pick out a tank of heal. Yeah, do it, man. See if you can train your kids to do the video editing. It's funny you say that, NCCK. I don't know how to pronounce your name. NCC. Because my son, who's 9, has started a YouTube channel. He's got like 9 or 10 videos up on his YouTube channel, and it's all like Minecraft, Geometry Dash, Among Us stuff. And we don't show his face or anything because it just makes my wife and I uncomfortable. But he records his gameplay, and he's got a microphone, and he talks about what he's doing, and he's just really funny. And so he actually edits all of his own videos. But there's not a lot of editing that goes on yet. But he'll get there, man. He'll definitely get there. Ugh, fast. Oh, that does not sound like fun, Actus. No thanks. Already have my kids farming gold. I wish. You're on OMAD, Luna? Wow, lucky you. Well, not lucky, but nice. WoW content is 20% playing WoW, 10% editing, 70% rendering. God, that is so true, man. Holy moly. Hey, LB Ninja, a Woo, anyone who's listening, if you guys ever need another gamer for any dungeons or anything you're running, look me up, please. I like playing with people that enjoy playing the game. But anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I really appreciate you guys, and anyone who is on today, LB, a Woo, Mad Skills, anyone who may be listening, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for making this episode an absolutely fantastic episode. Some say, listen, some are saying it's the best one yet. I'm just saying. Some are saying. So you enjoy your day, buddy. Down south, wherever you are. My name is Brutal. Get out of here. Live well, be well, do well. I will see you guys tomorrow for a normal stream. I believe I'm doing a normal stream tomorrow. So yeah, today's episode will be up on YouTube, or like I said, edited and stuff. So tomorrow, late morning Central Time. So love you guys. Be safe. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday/weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow. My name is Brutal. Get out of here. Thank you again, and goodbye.